Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
And here I thought I'd get home to a celebration, parade, cheering. Daddy, you're back! And what I got was a bunch of raging hormones and angry kids. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations, David Nuño, and my partner who drove the entire way because he knew I was a little tired, Olin Buchanan, OB. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning. You feel a little beat up?
A little beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how just riding in a car at our age, over 40, feels like a physical activity.
Yeah. Look, kids are great. Love my family. But I was expecting a little bit more. But they're at that age, all of them.
Yeah.
Like, they just get grumpy about things that I don't know, like, you didn't do this dish. And everybody's just grumpy. And I wanted, now I will say, when we relived the moment, the Anderson Garcia moment, I love hearing it from their perspective at home. Like, they're like, Dad, it was 10:30 at night. I was running around the room. It was so crazy. We were yelling. I woke up on a lease. Love that part of it. But just, a little grumpiness.
My dog was excited to see me.
Yeah? Buck?
Yeah, Buck was excited to see me.
I bet. Yeah. So I don't know how to feel. Because we have baseball to look forward to, and I'm excited about that. And softball and women's golf is still going, men's golf. There's things going on. But the end of a season always feels like I don't want to say mourning of a season, but I wanted more. I really enjoy those guys. We have to turn the page. We'll still this week a little bit kind of look back at what it was or what it could have been and what it might be. But just kind of I want more basketball.
Yeah, it's disappointing because they were playing their best basketball. And quite frankly, I don't know if Houston won as much as A&M lost, because if A&M shoots 70% at the free throw line, which is their seasonal average, I think they win the game.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating.
Games play differently, right? Like we don't get the Anderson Garcia moment.
Yeah, it'll play differently.
But
would you want to have those points that you left?
I would much rather win. I like winning by 50. Preferably, like I don't need the stress and drama in my life.
Right.
I just want to enjoy good things. But I'm telling you that Anderson Garcia moment will, in my mind, live forever. Like in a really like that moment. I don't want to say allowed the loss to soften the blow, but that moment to me, just like I left saying, you know what, that was a fun season. And there were times throughout the year it wasn't a fun season. That made it feel like, look, They didn't beat a team that might win it all, or a team that might lose to Duke, by the way. And we'll be watching that game with those kind of eyes, like, what if it was us? But at least I can look back at that and be like, yeah, that was a nice run.
Yeah, like what I was writing about. If A&M wins in overtime, that's the biggest shot in school history.
Yep.
As it was a great shot, and it gave you another chance. But I think they missed a couple free throws in the overtime too. It was just frustrating there because they're good free throw shooters. I can't remember the game, but it was at Reed Arena, and they made like 17 of 20 free throws in the last 2 minutes. When that's the kind of free throw shooting they have. And to just be off like that, it was really disappointing because I came away thinking, I'm not sure Houston's the better team.
Houston's pretty good, though.
They're really good. But that's what I'm saying about A&M. They're playing their best basketball. When they're playing their best basketball, make free throws. Now, Houston shot like 83%, I think, 81% at the free throw line. Make your free throws, and you can win that game.
I know that Houston missed some threes down the stretch, but it felt like every time they were open, they would hit a three. And you remember, I think the first three they hit was on the backside, and it was right by us in the first three of the game. And it was like, man, that second pass always gets the Aggies.
Yeah. Well, it was the second chance in the first in the overtime period. The first shot, they missed.
Yep.
And they were able to get a second chance and make it. I just kind of felt like, look, there was still 4 minutes and change, 4.5, probably 4:20 to go, 4:40. So there was still a lot of time, but it just felt like getting that three gave them some momentum, and A&M was always trying to come back. Wish they would have gotten the rebound, or that ball would have gone out of bounds, and see how that would have gone. But, I don't want to be that guy that, look, I don't believe in moral victories, but I saw a heck of a basketball game. I was going to tell you, when they went from 12 down and go on a 17-5 run to force overtime, I'm kind of having flashbacks to Oklahoma City in 2016, because this team, Houston's much better than Northern Iowa. I'm like, are they going to be able to pull this off? But
they nearly did.
They nearly did.
And by the way, they do. I don't like the way I said that. They do. If who hit that three that they changed? They twice didn't they change the 3 into a 2?
Yeah,
just one of those.
One was by Wade. I'm trying to remember who the other one was by.
I feel like there was 2 down the
It
stretch.
was Boots.
There was.
Boots was the second one.
They win that game. Now, who knows if they shoot a 3 in that scenario? Right. So, but they win the game in that. You hit a free throw. Hit one more free throw.
Yeah.
You hit that. If that is actually a 3 and not a 2, you win the game.
Or how about a call that they didn't make against Houston when the guy slipped and obviously traveled?
Oh,
It should have been A&M's ball. And for some reason, this one official that I thought was out to lunch the whole game gives it to Houston. I'm pretty sure they score right after that.
I would love to play the game with a Houston insider, and that is anti the calls, and they gave I would love to say, all right, you give me your 12 calls that are wrong. I'm going to play the same game for you, and then we're going to match it up. Because, were the calls bad? Sure. I could see how Houston thought it was. Anytime you get called for a bunch of fouls, we're just physical. I get it. But guess what? It was both ways.
No, you can be physical, but you can still foul.
Yep.
Houston was fouling more because
A&M
was attacking the rim and drawing contact. And sometimes they drew contact and didn't get the call. But what about the Jace Carter steal?
If you look at the picture, foot's not out of bounds. We won. Now, he missed the dunk, but he missed the dunk, in my opinion, because the whistle blew.
Maybe.
And he just took,
So, very frustrating. Unfortunately, when it comes to A&M basketball in the tournament, there's a lot of times we're left thinking, why didn't Donald Sloan get the call?
Yeah.
If only AC had made the layup. Oh my God, the 3-pointer against LSU. There's just so many times so close, and that's what we too often have to lament is how close they came.
Yeah. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can call us up at 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. You can call us, you can text us. OB, I have it on the rundown, and maybe we won't do it fully right here, but we'll do it throughout the show. What now? Right? So what now? A&M baseball plays against HCU later, right? That's part of the what now. And how about Mike Elko doing the rounds again? Yesterday he was on with Roman Harper on the Paul Feinbaum show. Can we hear him talk a little bit about quarterback? Do you enjoy quarterback conversations?
I do.
Let's listen to Roman Harper interviewing Mike Elko yesterday about Connor Wigman.
Connor comes in the spring as our number one, and I think everyone's aware of that. But like everything, you want competition, and you want competition within your program. And so, Connor's out there now. He's back. He's taking the majority of the reps. He's not, 100% back off that injury, but he's enough to go out there and do the things that he's got to do to start learning this offense and progressing how he wants to progress. And then, you've got 2 quarterbacks last year who filled in and had some very successful moments. Jalen Henderson on the back end of the year had a great game against Mississippi State, leading us to a victory. And then Jalen winds up getting hurt on the first series of the bowl game, and Marcel Reed, as a true freshman, steps in and he throws for over 370 yards in the bowl game. And so you do have these 2 talented kids that are competing every day. And, I think our job as coaches is to kind of make competition a backbone of what we are as a program. And so, giving those 2 young men opportunities to kind of showcase themselves. And at the end of the day, I think everybody knows who the best player is coming out of spring, and that'll be the guy we line up with against Notre Dame.
So Connor's won, but there's no guarantees, and that's how I want my team built. But Connor's won.
He is. If Connor is not the starting quarterback against Notre Dame, provided there's no health issues,
right?
All that tells me is either Jalen Henderson or Marcel Reed have just emerged, and they're amazing. I can tell you this, and I guess that's possible. I don't think so. But I'll tell you this, I can always remember my first year at TexAgs. One of my first stories I wrote was at SEC Media Days, and I was writing about the impending quarterback battle.
Yep.
And I got tons of response. People tell me how crazy I am, that it's without a doubt Jamil Showers is the starting quarterback. And then they got into the August camp, and that other guy, that Manziel guy, did so well and became. So you just don't completely dismiss anybody, especially when they played pretty well. That said, Connor's the quarterback.
Yeah, look, but what I like is nobody's safe. Just do your work, you'll be fine, though, right? Like, if competition does bring the best in people or the worst in people, if it brings the worst in you, then you shouldn't be our guy.
Right.
If it brings the best of you, like as the great David Goggins says, take souls. You're so good at practice that the backup's like, I got no chance to catch that. That's what I want for my starting quarterback.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You want, and it is a rare quality, I think, those guys that, in the heat of competition, when it matters most, they're at their very best.
Yep.
Hopefully you find that.
As I mentioned, you can call the show. Do we want people to kind of vent and tell us what they thought about Aggie basketball? Tell us what you're thinking about baseball, softball, who's been on fire. You can do that 979-693-1150. We go around the room to say hello to the people. We go behind the glass. We talk to a Nick Savage with a new haircut, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for noticing. Welcome back, y'all. Happy to have you back in the studio. It's a lot easier on everyone in here. We love it.
It's easier? What makes it easier?
Just having y'all in there. It's better than Zoom. I think everyone would agree with that.
You think the audience cares?
I guess.
So you're saying we robbed them of an experience by going to be live?
No, not at all. You provided more being there live. Hey, all the tweets and videos and columns, good stuff.
I will tell you this about traveling. Seeing it up close is different than seeing it on TV.
100%.
Obviously, right? But the connections you make, OB, not only fans, we met some really cool fans out there, and we had some great conversations, but personnel, staff, athletic department, getting to see people connected with the athletic department, and then tweets going crazy about that. Just in general, being there on the scene and being next to the guys, to me, just allows us to tell a deeper part of the story.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, you do get an opportunity to get closer and see things that you don't see on TV. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's why people forever have traveled to actually report on the games. And, if you think about it, have you watched some of the telecasts, some of the SEC basketball telecasts this year when they have the guys who aren't at the game?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just not the same.
It's not.
You can tell they're not there.
It's like microwaved leftovers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's chicken, but is it?
Yeah. It's like a Swanson TV dinner.
Yeah, it's food, and it tastes okay, but it's not like going to Fargo's.
Oh, no.
Or Costa Vida
No.
Why did I use an accent there? Did you notice that? It was like a...
I thought it was because you just have an accent.
Yeah. Well, that's because I'm Mr. Country Music.
Yeah.
I live up to the reputation, though, don't I?
We listened to a lot of country music on the way up. We didn't listen to anything on the way home.
No, we did.
Well, we listened to
conservative radio.
Conservative radio.
We listened to
like
Patrick Betts David and Joe Rogan.
For the last 2 hours.
Yeah. It was good.
For the first 7, we didn't listen to anything.
Yeah.
Has anyone checked on Katie then?
Katie, by the way, Katie was amazing on this trip. She did a lot of our videos, pictures, and just was fun to hang out with her. But I'm sure she's like, after listening to two old guys talk about the world problems and me being a prepper and all these things, she's probably like, get me the freak home.
I think she enjoyed her first business trip.
Yeah, it was fun.
By the way, let me say this.
You say it.
The loss to Houston was, obviously painfully disappointing. But I still find some consolation in watching the Nebraska fans just be so broken because it never even occurred to them. A lot of them were in our hotel. I always heard Nebraska fans have a reputation for being really friendly and nice and approachable. Maybe that's a football thing. There was plenty of Nebraska fans that were complete red-clad D-bags, and I was. This Japanese guy is showboating all over the place and then yakking.
But if he was our guy, we'd love him.
Probably, but you know what? I guess just because I'm old, but I don't like some of the things he was doing no matter who does it.
He did it early. If you hit an Anderson Garcia game 3, celebrate.
And what did Anderson do?
He laid down, just like enjoyed the moment, right? It was incredible.
And this guy is grabbing his head and talking and all this stuff. And
he was talking trash to Solo. I'm watching it before the technicals happened. I'm like, why is he yapping at Solo so much?
Yeah.
Solo was just laughing like a little gnat. Like, get away, bro.
And the kid can shoot. You leave him open, he can shoot.
Yeah.
You guard him, and he can't. It wasn't him. No, it wasn't him. It wasn't him that Solo blocked with two hands and came down and started to break. That was amazing.
Hey, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Who do we have there? Callie Gardner in the house. Good morning, Callie.
Good morning. How's it going?
I understand that you were in Memphis. I know that because you told me you were going to Memphis. How was your experience?
It was fun. I think it was really exciting, regardless of the outcome, to be there for that shot that Anderson made. It was something that will be talked about for a long time in Aggie sports. So it was fun. I made the trip with my brother, and we made a lot of memories in a short period of time. So very glad we went.
I saw a nice little picture you guys posted. Good times. Happy you were there to enjoy the moment.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. I'm starting to think I'm maybe a little bit of bad luck, though, when it comes to away games for Aggie basketball, because I've been to 3, and we've lost all 3 of them.
This year or in your life?
In my life. With the 2022 NIT championship in New York, we lost to Xavier by 1. I was there. The 2023 SEC Tournament Championship, I was there. We lost to Alabama. And then the 2024 round of 32, we lost to Houston.
I tend to look at it as you were the one that helped propel Anderson Garcia's 3 to give us a chance.
What an amazing pass, inbounds pass, because Boots was looking for Wade.
Yep.
And he wasn't coming open. Then he was going to probably look for Jace Carter or somebody else. And, that 5 count is running down. And he has to bounce pass it kind of underhanded. And this is all in 1 minute or 1 second. Anderson catches it, has the presence of mind to understand he has to kind of step back behind the three-pointer, point line, and then drills it. And really, I'm so, of course, we're also disappointed that they didn't win, but in that situation, could you be happier for anybody more than Anderson Garcia, a guy that just does things to help you win?
Hey, let me read this text. This is from Jerry. Very polite text, by the way. Very polite. Football this month's away, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. Basketball had a great ending. It's over. Now talk about the number 4 team in the nation, the Texas Aggie baseball team.
Oh, we're gonna
Please
do
and
that
thank
too.
you. Fairly sure we're going to talk about them. I know that you cannot wait for your Houston Christian breakdown. I'm sure people can't wait for that. We have Jackson Moss. We do have JB Moss on the program today. So we're going to get some baseball in there. And we'll talk about it too, because when we do our players of the week, We're going to have to focus on some baseball players.
I don't have a problem with the fact that just 2 days later we're still talking about the basketball season wrapping up.
And technically not even 48 hours.
Yeah.
So, Callie, let's try to get one other update in before we have to hit a break.
Yeah, Justin Lampkin was named SEC Pitcher of the Week. Speaking of baseball, he had an awesome outing on Sunday, 7.1 innings pitched. He had a career high of 12 strikeouts, and he had a no-hitter through the 5th inning, retiring 21 of the first 22 batters that he faced, and all around just a really impressive outing. And I think it's exactly what he needed going into a tough SEC stretch, as well as what Schloss needed to see from him. So
good stuff
awesome.
there. We're going to talk about him coming up here in a moment. Obi, it just hit me.
What hit you?
We could do like a quarter, like we have a little box outside of TexAgs, and we could be Jukebox Sports Radio. You put the quarter in, right? And then we'll talk about whatever you want. Hey, talk about global warming. Boom. OB goes into global warming mode.
Yeah.
Boom. Talk about Aggie
You mean
baseball.
that thing that doesn't exist?
Huh? Talk about Aggie basketball, baseball, and softball, and pom-poms. Boom. And then we get let's start doing that. We'll do like a 15-minute segment called Jukebox Sports Radio. We'll talk about anything.
Okay.
All right. But you got to contribute to a philanthropy, some charity.
Yeah, like the Buchanan Foundation.
Yes, the Buchanan Foundation. It's just like George Costanza's foundation. Was it that one called what was it? The fund he had. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. George always had something.
God, George was great. For Susan's fund when she died.
Oh yeah, from licking all the envelopes.
Yeah. Don't lick a lot of envelopes. You know what we're talking about, Callie?
She has no idea.
I have not a clue.
Nick, do you know what we're talking about? He yelled at
I
us.
do not, no.
Okay. Let's talk about something that I know Callie knows about, OB knows about, Nick knows about, the Association of Former Students. Did you or someone you know graduate from Texas A&M in the last 12 years, and are you leading by example in business and in service? If that's the case, the Association of Former Students wants to invite you to nominate yourself or someone you know for the 12 Under 12 Young Alumni Spotlight. So each year, they recognize a dozen Aggies who have graduated within the last 12 years for their business accomplishments, civic or military service, philanthropic efforts, outstanding representation of A&M's core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service. Previous year honorees have included leaders in business and higher education, architects, petroleum engineers, nonprofit executives, physicians, veterans, and members of the U.S. Armed Forces. 2024 nominations close Sunday, March 31st, so be sure to submit a nomination soon. To learn more about this recognition, submit a nomination, visit tx.ag/12under12 nominations. Again, that is tx.ag/12under12 nominations. It's the Association of Former Students. Our buddy Greg Bennett and several others have texted the Human Fund. I couldn't think of the name of
Human Fund.
The Human Fund because of the death to Susan, George Costanza. And, actually, part of it was because of giving Christmas gifts out, right? If I remember, or because people were giving out gifts, and he's like, I'm going to put $50 in your name to the Human Fund.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the gift.
What I came away from that is thinking, she died in this TV show, licking all these envelopes to send out for wedding invitations. Says, don't have a wedding.
Yeah,
save money and save a life.
Yeah. Hey, we're TexAgs Radio.
We are.
And we are presented by
CC Creations.
Well, the Go Hour is.
Well, the Go Hour. Okay.
Yeah. But the presenting sponsor of this program is
David Gardner Jewelers.
Yeah, the Jewelers, yeah.
And then we're in the Rollo Insurance
We
studio.
are in the Rollo Insurance. I love this studio.
Yeah.
I like the one next door, too, eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. All right, let's get into our performance of the week. OB, do you want to make the first nomination?
Well, I saw basketball all week.
Yeah. So do we go Boots?
Yeah.
Let's go Boots.
Boots was really good this week.
Look at that game right there. Against Nebraska, 20 points.
And he had 27
against
UH.
Yeah, and he had 15 rebounds. Look at that. What a weekend for his. To say goodbye to Texas A&M, at least playing wise, he was fantastic.
Gonna miss him.
Yeah.
He should coach.
I think he wants to play.
Well, once his playing career is over, he should coach.
Come coach here.
I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, Boots Radford, huge weekend there in Memphis. Everybody keeps asking me, how was Memphis? How was Memphis? How was Memphis, OP?
It was all right. I mean, you can tell how once it was an absolutely beautiful city at one time. It's gone into some decay. But
I enjoyed Memphis more than I thought I would.
It was the only time, I will say this, it was the only time in my life I've gone into a restaurant and had to be patted down to go in.
And I'm glad we went there.
Yeah.
It was a wings place that was open after midnight, I think.
And everybody was, once we got in, really nice to us.
Couldn't have been nicer. There must have been gunshots there or something.
No.
But I felt that way everywhere in Memphis. Like, you best keep your eyes open.
Yeah, remember the homeless guy that was kind of following me and yelling at me?
Oh, yeah.
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 There's a lot
and
of
I remember I said, I wish he would. I wish he would find out real quick.
There's a lot of that going on in Memphis.
All right, another performance of the week. I've got to give the absolute moment, the performance, the moment to this moment here on Sunday night.
As he raced to that corner. Radford, the inbounder, looking, the bounce, Garcia.
That was amazing.
Look at that. I still get like little goosebumps from this.
Those are the kids that were
right behind us.
Yeah.
They were fun. Sorry, well, we lost, but to the face you made.
That was amazing.
That was great. Anderson Garcia deserves all the love out there. I'm going to make another nomination.
He's still got a year of eligibility.
And let's hope that he plays. Let's hope that he's another one. He can coach too. Yeah. I was disappointed I didn't get to interview Anderson. I always do like a Spanish interview with him. He wasn't around in locker room time. He was probably working. Let's do another one. Callie, why don't you tell the people about a certain pitcher that won the SEC co-pitcher of the week?
Yeah, that would be Justin Lampkin, and he played Sunday, and just the Sunday game Saturday. My week was all off. The Thursday night games really just threw me off. All day Saturday, I thought it was Sunday. Yeah, he was our third day starter, but the game was on Saturday.
7 1/3, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and how many strikeouts?
12, the magic number.
Oh, I love that number.
Yeah, me too.
That tells me that there was 4 innings that nobody even touched the ball.
He was fantastic. Justin Lampkin deserves all the love. Can we get Braden Montgomery some props? I feel like we give him props a lot.
Man, is that guy amazing?
He's amazing.
I'm not sure that Braden Montgomery, especially if he keeps on the way he's going, I'm not sure he won't be the best transfer
in A&M
ever
history?
In A&M history, regardless of sport. Tell me a transfer in another sport that's been better than what Braden Montgomery.
Well, he's going to have to continue doing it,
right? If he continues the way he's going.
Look, I don't know if you can't say Boots has been better, but Boots has been pretty darn good.
Yeah, he's been
in
really
that conversation.
He's been outstanding.
Yeah. I don't know. He is. I haven't looked at MLB draft boards I'll allow Bronny to do that. I know he was, before the season, considered a top 10 pick, potentially. Yeah. And I've seen Bronny write that he's rising up the ranks right now. So
I wish the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers, I just wanted to be able to say that because I thought I'd never say that, would have a chance to draft him.
By the way.
No, there's not.
Let's do one more. Nick, did Aggie softball have a great weekend? Did they?
They did. They sure did. I don't have numbers in front of me, but I can tell you they swept. They swept Auburn. We can give it to Coco Woolley because she hit the walk-off run rule home run on Sunday to secure that sweep. So,
Coco.
Yeah,
what's her last name?
Woolley.
Woolley.
Yeah.
Like a sheep. Like a sheep's fleece?
Wooley, I believe.
Yeah. So Woolley. Okay.
Yeah.
A woolly mammoth.
You remember the wrestler Coco Beware? Yeah,
I do.
He was fun. I know Callie was a big fan of that. That and the Human Fund.
I was once the guy they call him the second that holds the wrestler's gear at the National Guard Armory in Longview, Texas, holding the Junkyard Dogs chain and his
JYD,
his collar.
Greatest wrestler that you ever watched?
Oh, Fritz von Erich.
I haven't watched the movie yet. Have you watched the movie?
I have.
Was it great?
It was actually really good.
Yeah.
But they didn't cast it very well.
You didn't like
no,
Zac Efron?
I thought
was he all right?
Yeah, but the guy that, if you followed those guys, the guy Kerry
Von
was the
Erich.
one who was really jacked.
Right.
And he's not the really jacked one in this
movie. Okay. Huh.
But his dad was.
I haven't watched it. I do know that Roadhouse is out. And apparently the plot is horrendous, but a lot of action. So I think I'm going to have to watch Roadhouse.
Kind of like the first one.
Yeah, but the first one has a special place in people's hearts. Do you know what we're talking about, Kelly?
Roadhouse.
Not a clue.
You don't know about Roadhouse?
Mm-mm.
Why are you saying it like you're disappointed that we brought it up to you?
I'm not. I would love to be informed.
I want you to text your dad at some point and ask if he's watched the original Roadhouse.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
My
he might be listening.
My guess is he has.
Don't you kick everything once you're watching Roadhouse? You just watch it and kick stuff.
Well, let me tell you this. I think I said it on the air once before. We got to hit a break here, but I watched, because I'm an idiot. I watched Roadhouse. I started watching Roadhouse with my kids. Nudity alert. Didn't remember that from the 80s.
Yeah.
There's a scene. I think Patrick Swayze shows a backside, and there was other stuff. And no. Why do 80s? Why was it okay for me when I was 9 to watch that?
I remember showing my kids Revenge of the Nerds and I forgot about that. And then I said, son.
Even the movie Big has some language in it that is not kid appropriate.
Yeah, I don't think my son was ever scarred by language that he heard on a movie because he'd already heard it at home.
You've heard this 1,000 times, but you know what movie I saw in 1983 the day it came out at the theater?
Scarface.
That's right. And that movie at the time had the most four-letter bombs in the history of cinema.
Yeah. F-bombs like Desert Storm.
I wonder if you'll hear that at the Troubadour Festival.
No.
Everybody's just PC there.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Texas barbecue.
Yeah.
Well, you went to Memphis barbecue. You should have just gone to the Troubadour Festival.
I intend to.
You waited. Well, yeah, it returns to Aggie Park on Saturday, May the 18th. This year's event, even bigger and better. Troubadour Festival is bringing together 35 of the best barbecue joints in Texas for you to indulge in unlimited samples of their incredible smoke creations. You can't forget about the music there. Travis Tritt, he's going to be all over the place. He's the headliner, joined by Texas country legend Pat Green, William Clark Green, the Red Clay Strays, Cameron Saki Band, and much, much more. Whether you want to experience the barbecue and the concert or just the concert itself, there's a ticket for you, and tickets are on sale right now at troubadourfestival.com. That is troubadourfestival.com. Get yours. We'll see you at Aggie Park on Saturday, May the 18th.
Don't Stop.
Believing?
No.
I know it's not the song.
That's Journey. This is Fleetwood Mac, I believe.
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the hotline. We're joined by Pro Football Talk Hall of Famer, Aggie great, Charean Williams. Charean, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Question for you.
Fatigued.
Nothing to do with the basketball game. Did you watch the original Roadhouse?
I did not.
Okay.
Well,
wait, Patrick Swayze?
Yes, I may have, but it was a long time ago.
All right. It just came up on the show. I thought I would ask you. The weekend in Memphis for us was nice, but obviously the result on Sunday night, not what we wanted, but what a game. What? Give me your perspective of what you saw.
Yeah, I just tweeted. I just sat in on, obviously I'm in Orlando for the NFL owners meetings, which we can talk about the kickoff, which they just passed, by the way. But I just saw Dan Campbell. We walked out of the room together, and he said his heart was broken by the Aggies. I said, yeah, mine was too. Stayed up late, had a 6 a.m. Eastern wake-up call, so I didn't get much sleep that night. And, of course, tossed and turned thinking about what could have been. But, oh, my gosh, I mean, just what an exciting game. And you thought they had it when Anderson Garcia hit that three-pointer, and just the mood swing. I think I woke up everybody in my hotel screaming. I was trying to be quiet, and once he hit the three-pointer, that it wasn't going to happen. So I apologize to the people who were in the rooms next to me. But an exciting game, and I think they were good enough to go to the Final Four, and it's just unfortunate that we aren't playing in Dallas this weekend. I was already thinking, hey, I'm going to be there Friday and be there Sunday if they get there, and I think a lot of Aggies would have been, and it would have been a lot of fun. But I do think they were good enough to get there. I think they proved that. Just as excited I am with as well as they played. Everyone's still talking about the game. They were talking about it yesterday here. You're also disappointed knowing what could have been.
Agree. I mean, they did some great things, but to me, it still comes back to the free throw shooting that they struggled with, and they'd made their free throws. You don't make them all, but if you make most or more of them, it really changes the complexion of that game, and that's what's kind of hard to digest.
Oh, absolutely. You saw the stat. I mean, I think I retweeted it yesterday about teams that have that many free throws and you win the game. I mean, it's 100% you win the game when you go to the free throw line that much, and if you make 6 more of them, which is not even shooting near what they should shoot from the free throw line, make 6 more of them, and you're playing on Friday night. So they got a lot of work to do at the free throw line, I think, this offseason. And it wasn't just that game that it showed up. There were several games this season they just couldn't shoot free throws. You got to be better at the free throw line.
Talking to Charean Williams here on TexAgs Radio. Charean, give us the update there. You gave us a little bit of the info. The kickoff rule did pass. Kind of re-explain it to the audience what it's going to look like next year.
Yeah, it's very complicated, very non-traditional. It's the XFL style model. You'll have 2 returners back there. So both teams will line up on the receiving team's line of the field. The players won't be able to engage until the ball is touched. It has to land in the landing zone. There are 3 types of touchbacks, the 20, the 30, the 40. It has to land in the landing zone. If it lands in the end zone or out of the back of the end zone, I think it comes back to the 30, and then there's one that goes to the 40, and then there's one that goes to the 20 if it lands in the landing zone, which is the 20 from the 20 to the end zone. So basically, the kicker is back at the 40. I think he's kicking off. Where he's kicking off, the kicker has got to kick it into that landing zone, which is the 20 to the end zone, is what it's designed to do. Now, I think it's going to be a huge benefit. I think you're going to see returners, teams using their best receivers, best running backs to return kicks now. With the high-speed collisions now out of the game and the risk of injury a little bit lower, I think you're going to see really some weapons back there and guys who can return the distance. And I think we're going to see a lot more returns go the distance. And I think eventually teams are going to be kicking out of the end zone and just say, we concede. We're not giving up a touchdown. We just concede the extra yardage to start the drive. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this thing goes. 3 teams voted no: 49ers, the Raiders, and the Packers, and the rest approved it just because they felt like last season that it was a ceremonial play because there were so many touchbacks. They were just basically kicking off to start the ball at the 25 is all it had turned into. And so they wanted to bring the kickoffs back into the game, but at the same time lower the injury rate with those high-speed collisions and concussions that come with kickoff. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out.
I disagree. I think that there are going to be less long returns because I think on so many long returns is, guys running out of their lanes on the coverage team and running past things. Yeah. And I think they'll be less likely to do that. Frankly, if you're going to, and I don't know what you said about wanting to make it, put that back in, but if you're going to do that, that just seems so odd. I would just say, look, we're going to put the ball at the 25. That's where we're going to start every series. And if you decide that you want to try an onside kick, then we'll line up for an onside kick.
That. Yeah.
But that's probably where we'll eventually go.
What they have to do. They obviously have eliminated now surprise onside kicks because you have to declare an onside kick. So, there will be no, like we saw in the Super Bowl with the Saints against the Colts. We won't see that anymore. Rich McKay yesterday, who's the chairman of the competition committee, made the point, Devin Hester's going into Pro Football Hall of Fame this year for returning basically as a returner. But a lot of that was kickoff returns, not just punt returns. And, in this day and age with the fact that it has become a ceremonial play, like it's a lot harder for a returner to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He probably wouldn't be going into the Hall of Fame if he played now. And, Olin, you made the point of there may be less returns, and I made the point there may be more returns. To me, that's the exciting part of this because you don't know what to expect with this thing. And I think that's what we're all waiting to see is how this is going to play out. Now, they say, well, we have evidence, based on what the XFL did. We have evidence, and that's why we feel confident that we know what's going to happen, but you really don't know what is going to happen because this is a different level of athlete than the XFL players. So I think it's exciting from the standpoint of I have no idea how this is going to play out.
Talking to Charean Williams here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Charean, give me an update on Edgerrin Cooper. I know he talked with the Cowboys, he's talked with the Texans, and any buzz about him recently?
Yeah, his arrow is pointed up. I'm going to be surprised if he's not a first-round draft pick. But if he doesn't go in the first round, I think he's going to go early in the second round. And, you'd rather go in the first round, period, end story. But if you go at the end of the first round, you're going to a good team. Almost always, obviously, because those teams are drafting late for a reason. So I think that's the exciting part for him is if he does go low in that first round, he can end up with a really good team and have a chance to really have a great rookie season and have players around him who are good, who will help make him better. So I think that's the exciting part for him. But yeah, his arrow is pointed up. I think he's one of the hottest players, hottest risers in this draft of people I have talked to, evaluators, scout evaluators, player evaluators that I have talked to have him as one of the fast risers.
I probably asked you this before, Charean. If I did, I tend to repeat myself, and I apologize. But do you really see him being a legitimate option for the Cowboys, or do they just have too many other issues to address?
Well, yeah, to your point, we talked to Mike McCarthy today, and at some point you're going to have to draft for need when you talk about, he and Jerry both have downplayed. Well, we have enough talent. We're confident that, Marty Smith can step up. Even though he had off-season shoulder surgery, but we're confident Marty Smith can step up and fill the need there inside a defensive tackle. We're confident this, that, and the other. But the fact is they need a starting left tackle. They need a starting center. They need a starting running back. So to your point, it's great to say, hey, we're going to draft the best player available. That's what every team wants to do, and it's great to say that. But at some point, it's got to be about need, just because you don't know who your starters are going to be. there. And I think if they don't come out of this draft with the left tackle and with the center and with the running back and probably with the third wide receiver, that they're going to be in a little bit of trouble. I think those are positions they have to have. So, yeah, he may be the best player sitting there, and I'm not sure that that would be the best pick for the Cowboys just based on what they need. And I think they are backed into that corner because of Dak's contract somewhat. The fact that they didn't get that extended, that he's counting $55 million against their salary cap, has really handcuffed them a little bit. Weren't able to go out and do anything at free agency, and so now I do think it's more about drafting for need than best player available. So, and that's not their biggest need, having signed Eric Kendricks and some other guys that they have in there.
Charean, great work as always. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Charean Williams there on the hotline. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back. Got some text messages. Rob from Dudley's Draw asking about Buzz Williams. We'll discuss it on the other side of the break. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Robin Dudley's Draw was asking about Buzz Williams, said he didn't like something didn't look right with Buzz, and that maybe Chip had brought up that Buzz might not be happy here. I have not gotten that sense at all. What I've gotten is we can only base it on history with Buzz that he doesn't stay places that long, right? But I think with what he has coming back, he should be very happy.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know. I've never asked Buzz if he's happy here. But I do think it's a legitimate question. 3 or 4 weeks ago, he spoke at length, really, about how when he was at Marquette, that his family went to church all the time. And he said, we didn't go to church here because I don't want people talking to me, which I found to be odd. He said, but now his son wants to go to church, so they go and they sit in the back. And he said that he and his wife don't go out to restaurants. Why? Because people talk to him. He doesn't want. So maybe I don't know. Maybe he's as happy here as he could be. But if it would seem to me that if you don't want to go out in town because you don't want anyone talking to you, that just doesn't strike me as somebody who's really happy here. I mean, I think of RC that's out and he'll say hi to anybody.
From a pure basketball standpoint, and the way he builds his teams, I think he should be as happy as he can be. And again, I don't know how to get into people's heads. I'm just saying, potentially he's got Andy coming back, Wade coming back. Again, this is all potential. Solo coming back, Manny coming back. He's got himself a squad that went toe-to-toe with a number 1 seed. And yeah, you're losing Boots, and Boots was maybe the best player on the floor that night for them.
If you could bring somebody in, or if somebody Manny continues to improve and can fill that role and play it as well as Boots did, and then maybe bring in somebody to add to your size inside, and you brought the nucleus of that team back, then yeah, you could be, a team that could contend for a national championship next year, right? If you bring everybody back. So from a strictly professional sense, I'm sure he's thinking, yeah, this is great. I'm just saying that Rob asked a question.
Yep.
And I'm just saying, based on some things he said, I can see why you would wonder.
Yeah.
I think it's a legitimate question, but I don't know. For all I know, he may think this is his personal utopia. For all I know.
And that, I think that's the part that is difficult for some is we don't know. Like, this makes me happy to be here. This is where I want to be, right? Like, for some people, it may be somewhere else. So
I know that talking to other people, Mark Turgeon was never happy here, and he left.
Well, but he gave off that vibe too.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Billy Kennedy seemed pretty happy here.
Yeah, he was. I don't know how to. I never really knew how to interpret that.
Yeah.
Those statements that Buzz made that day.
OB, get some rest, buddy.
I need to.
Thanks, man.
All right.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, you want Aggie baseball, you get Aggie baseball here on TexAgs Radio. We're going to have JB Moss on the phone. After that, Gerrod Chadwell. We'll have an open segment to discuss some Aggie football after that. And your phone calls and text messages. It's TexAgs Radio. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. Turning the page. Yeah, we'll talk some hoops, and I know some of you are ready for some baseball talk. We'll talk some baseball. We'll talk some football. Got some golf in this hour, but right now let's go to the hotline. Let's talk to JB Moss here on the program. JB, good morning, buddy. How you been? JB, you're on the air. JB.
Hey, David.
Hey, JB. How are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. Hey, listen, before we start down the baseball track, let's give a special shout out to Buzz and the bunch. I thought the way they competed on Sunday night was just really awesome to see. Obviously, we're not into moral victories, but I thought the way they played the last 2 weeks was really awesome. They certainly had their lumps throughout the year, but I was just very, very proud of their fight and their effort Sunday night. That was fun to watch.
Hey, let me kind of go through that a mindset of an athlete. All right, ninth inning, you're down. I know obviously basketball and baseball are different types of sports, but you're down by significant points. Right, last couple of minutes, you're down by double digits. Talk about the fight. Like, how often? I mean, is it? I expect the fight every second of the game, but is that realistic in a locker room?
I mean, sometimes. I mean, if you have guys with great character that care about other people, it's a thing. There's certainly teams where it's not. And I thought Buzz's 2023 team certainly had that. I just, like we talked about, I'm so proud of their fight and their effort. And, I hate to see them not come out with a victory, because I certainly feel like if they had made a couple more free throws or, a little better shot selection, I thought they would have come out on top. But nonetheless, very proud of them. And, man, I tell you what, that was high-level basketball, and I think Houston is really, really good.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio. JB, let's talk baseball. We'll start off big picture, and then we'll work our way down. They've won 21 of 24 games. They just won the series against Mississippi State. They played great, not even great. They played well in Florida and could have won that series. Obviously did not end up winning that series. When you think about what you've seen so far, just kind of give me some big thoughts on them.
Well, I've certainly been impressed. The last time we talked, I believe the Aggies were undefeated, and I feel the same way I do now as I did then. I'm very impressed with their offensive approach. They're hitting right at 300 as a baseball team. They have doubled their home runs as many games played, which is great. They have under a 3-team ERA. I mean, they're certainly checking all the boxes. And listen, this is the SEC here. This is 10 weeks, 30 games of the ultimate grind. And I equate it to a mini MLB season. I mean, you go back and look at the MLB standings, and whichever team is winning 55%, 60% of their games, they're winning their division. And in my opinion, the SEC is just like that. You go 20-10 in this league, you're going to win the division. And we know Coach Loss talking about getting to 15, and that's 500 baseball. So you're certainly going to take your lumps. You're going to take your series losses. But if you just stay the course and you try to get a little bit better each week, I think we'll be real happy where the Aggies are standing at the end of this end of this grind.
Talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, so we got HCU tonight, and Lance Berkman and crew coming to town. Obviously, you want to take care of business tonight, but just in general, when we talk about where this team is headed, let's talk about SEC play and winning at home. It's obviously important to win as many series as possible, every series if you can, but especially the ones at home.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, look, when you have the 12th man behind you, it breeds confidence, and the guys need to play off that confidence. And like we said, if you're going to go 500 or better, you better win the series at home. Because, listen, the atmospheres and the series on the road, the teams are so competitive and the atmospheres are so tough. It's like every sport in the SEC. It's like football and basketball. It's just so hard to win on the road. Everything is stacked against you. You feel like, the umpire is kind of feeding off the home crowd. So you literally have everything against you. So it's very, very important to at least win the series at home. And then if you can get a sweep, you absolutely take it.
Yeah. By the way, watching that Mississippi State series, I feel like we saw a little bit of everything, JB, right? We saw some fantastic pitching. We saw some offensive performances. You get those kind of, games in SEC play, such a difference maker for a team that we think can make it back to Omaha and play for a College World Series.
David, you're 100% on point with that. Listen, the teams that win it all, can win in multiple facets, right? And, we saw it a few years ago, I believe it was in 2022, but A&M would just outscore everybody. And every baseball guy you talk to, whether it's me, Boomer, Bronny, Richard, anybody would tell you, hey, this ain't going to work. This is not sustainable. It's a miracle that it went as far as it did, because you cannot count on timely hitting. They call it timely for a reason, and you can't count on it. It's either there or it's not. But when it's not there, having the ability to have specifically starting pitching that can keep you deep into a ball game, 3 runs or less into the 6th inning, I mean, that's when you truly have a complete team. I equate starting pitching to a quarterback of a football team. I mean, we certainly have learned it the hard way at A&M. I think you can be a good team without a starting quarterback, but I don't think you can be a great team. And I think the same is to be said with high-level college baseball. And seeing what Ryan Prager and Justin Lampkin are doing right now certainly gets you excited for the rest of conference play.
Well, let's start with Lampkin then, and the 12 strikeouts this past weekend. Just where has he taken his game and the growth that you saw from last season to this season?
Well, I think he's more confident, one. I mean, look, your sophomore year is where you make the biggest jump. There's no doubt about that. You know where to go. You know where to be. You've been through a little bit of the fight if you're talented enough to play as a freshman. And look, I think the evolution of pitching, right? I mean, I know much more about hitting than I do pitching. But in my opinion, I think pitching begins and ends with fastball command. I think that, can you throw a fastball for a strike? Can you throw a breaking ball for a strike? And then can you use both sides of the plate with fastball command? I think that's kind of where you take your next step as a pitcher, and I think that's what we saw from Justin this weekend, and man, he was spectacular. And then on top of that, you go into, can you hold runners? Can you field your position? So those are all kind of things to look at as you're looking at evolution, specifically of a starting pitcher. And listen, with Prager and Lampkin, I mean, it's just so exciting to see what they're doing right now. I love that they're left-handed, and like I said, couldn't be more excited with our starting pitching.
Let's go to Prager then, because he obviously struggled when he went to Florida, and instead of letting that linger, he put on a great performance on Thursday.
Well, he sure did. And listen, I think we should recognize and compliment Prager on, he doesn't have the most experience, right? I mean, in my opinion, this is a guy that's still feeling it out. He's not a third-year junior with a ton of starting experience. I mean, by all accounts, this is his second year starting, with the injury year. And what he's doing right now, I mean, he's got under a 2 ERA. I mean, he's filling up the strike zone, under a 200 batting average against. I mean, look, I'll be the first guy to say I've had conversations with Richard Zane saying, man, I just, when you watch Ryan pitch, nothing necessarily jumps off the screen at you. I mean, he doesn't light up the radar gun. I can't get a feel, at least on video, of how sharp the slider is. But what I have been told from Coach Weiner and the staff is, he has such great extension. He's very long. He's got a lot of reach, and I think that 90-mile-an-hour fastball plays more like 94, 95. So, listen, credit to Coach Weiner and the staff, and I think it's so exciting just to see these guys continue to develop and be their best selves.
JB, were you talking about Ryan Prager or Greg Maddux when you were describing those traits right there?
Hey, both can apply. Whoever you want it to go to. I certainly am starting to see some of that with Ryan Prager.
Hey, so I know you mentioned the offensive side. Let's talk Gavin Grohovec and freshman year phenom. Bronny said he was going to have a great year. He's having that, man, especially with SEC play. He's been so phenomenal.
Man, he's just been incredible. Listen, I want you guys to understand how hard it is to play at this level as a freshman. I listened to Coach Slosh and Bronny yesterday. I certainly don't create these stats. I just listen to the people that are smarter than me. But listen, there's a very limited people that can play at this level at 18 years old. It's just so competitive, and the guys you're playing with are a few years older, and they're just as talented usually, and they have more experience, which makes them better. So, listen, Gavin, in my opinion, shouldn't be at Texas A&M. He should have gotten drafted, and Texas A&M is certainly reaping the benefits of that. Listen, we talked about the evolution of a pitcher. Let's talk about the evolution of a hitter. Can you hit a fastball? Can you pull a fastball for a home run? Can you hit a breaking ball? Can you use the whole field to hit? And lastly, can you control the strike zone? That's usually one of the last things you see in the progression of a mature hitter. But in my opinion, Gavin's certainly not perfect in all of those, but he's way more developed in all those categories than 99% of freshmen. So listen, we are lucky to have Gavin. I hope he stays healthy. And just having our top of the lineup, I've never seen Texas A&M, as long as I've been a part of the team and as long as I've been a fan of the team, have that much talent at the top of the order. So credit to Nolan and these kids. It's certainly fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. And, it's interesting. You're talking about Gavin could be in the bigs right now, right, and just doing big things. That's 2 years in a row that a guy has exceeded expectations or met expectations as a freshman. Jace Lavalette last year. When we talk about the talent that Schloss is putting together, he gets them young, and oh, by the way, they still develop. They go beyond what we thought.
Well, they absolutely do. And listen, don't hear me wrong. I'm not saying Gavin Grohovic could be in the major leagues. I'm saying he could be a pro player. There's a huge difference.
Yeah, good point.
And I know what you meant. I know what you meant. But listen, I think, look, Slosh's reputation was that of a CEO, right? And I think that can kind of be a negative connotation because someone could think, oh, well, he's not into baseball. Well, I think it's the complete opposite. I think the fact that these guys are playing so well early is a testament to being a baseball CEO. I think that, or I know that Slosh puts a lot of emphasis into the mental side of the game. And listen, some people may think that's kind of wash, if you will, but I think it's very important. I know they put a lot of money and a lot of effort into the mental side of the game. And what that does is that helps you stay within yourself. That helps your heart rate stay low, right, and not get sped up. And what that allows you to do is that allows your talent to be put on display. Because, look, you're in 10,000 people crowds, right, and your adrenaline is high, but, you have to find a way to calm yourself down. And so another thing Slosh does well is get these talented kids on campus. I know he takes a lot of pride in getting guys that are, potential high-round picks, getting them to school. And with Jace and Gavin, he's certainly done a great job of that. And then I think that, look, at the end of the day, the testament goes to the kid, right? Because they're the one putting the work in. They're the one with the talent. And I think, between Slosh and Nolan getting them to school and developing them mentally, and with our first base coach developing them, in the cage and getting their swing down. I just think it's the perfect recipe for any young man to come play baseball at Texas A&M and be successful. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be an Aggie baseball player.
JB, great teams have to have, in my opinion, and you've played it, so you would know, a great catcher and somebody who can contribute not only with the pitches they call, the relationship with the pitchers, but the way Jackson Appel has been hitting the ball too. Like, they've got themselves something there.
Well, they certainly do. The first time I noticed Jackson offensively was against the University of Texas. I mean, I'm looking at his stat line right now. The guy's hitting close to 400. And listen, the least important offensive positions to me are catcher and shortstop. Those are kind of the quarterbacks of your defense, right? I mean, the catcher's going to touch the ball on every single pitch, and none more important than him. And then the second most important defensive position is shortstop. And, you talk about Ali and Jackson. What they're doing at the plate is an absolute bonus. And that's what takes a good offense to a great offense. When you're getting offensive production from these guys, it's just tremendous what it does to extend the lineup. And you're exactly right. I mean, look, they hit on Appel too. You're not going to hit on every guy that you bring in the portal or that you recruit in high school. But they certainly hit on Jackson and what he's done to stabilize the pitching staff as well as his offensive production has done wonders for this club.
Talking to JB Moss here, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We talked offense. We've talked pitching. We haven't talked about Braden Montgomery, and good God, he's been good, man.
Listen, this guy is just amazing. I mean, there's no other word to describe it. He's hitting 375. He's got 12 home runs, and he doesn't even have 100 at bats. But listen, what is going to take Braden Montgomery from a first-round pick to a potential top 10 pick is his control of the strike zone. He's got more free bases than strikeouts. And listen, when you want to when you're a casual baseball fan and you're like, okay, how do I know this kid's going to be a top-round pick? You're going to look at average. You're going to look at power. But what pushes you into the top end of the first round is when you have average power and you have more free bases than you do strikeouts. That's where the elite live, and that's what Braden Montgomery and Jace Laviolette do so well. And that goes back to our evolution as a hitter. Can you use the whole field to hit? Do you have power to all fields, and can you control the strike zone? If you can do those three things at this level, I mean, you're just getting yourself prepared for Major League Baseball. And listen, Braden has been absolutely phenomenal to watch. And you know, I just hope he stays healthy and continues on his success, because he seems like such a great kid. I love his smile. I love his energy in the dugout, and certainly love the way he plays the game.
If you had a concern, what would it be?
That's the hardest question you've asked me.
Gotcha.
I think it's bullpen arms. Listen, Slosh will tell you all day long, I'm getting this from Slosh, not getting this from me. I think that it all begins and ends with starting pitching. I truly believe that. I think that the depth of quality starting pitching is as low as it's ever been. And so I think when you have that, I think you set yourself apart. But what I think where A&M can improve the most is the consistency of their bullpen arms. You got to come into the ball game and you got to throw strikes. Number one, you got to get the first guy out, because usually you're coming in with traffic on the base paths. So listen, outside of Aschenbeck, who has just been incredible, you got to throw strike one, you got to get out number one, and you got to limit free bases. And so just continuing to see the evolution of guys like Shane Sadeo, I think he's phenomenal. I love Shane's competitiveness. I love his stuff. And he'll get back on track, him and Cortez and Rudis. I think if those guys continue to develop, that's what A&M needs to be a complete team and end up in Omaha.
JB, I can't let you leave without going a little bit deeper on Evan Aschenbeck. There's not a lot really to say other than, you know, you can count on him, right? Like, it's just, you put him out there, you feel very comfortable every time.
Well, it's just, he's just the calm to the storm, man. And listen, I need a person smarter than me that knows pitching to tell you what Evan's doing. From my vantage point, he's very, very calm. You don't see him get overly excited a whole lot. You don't see him complain about a missed strike call. You know, he's very even keel, number one. He gets on the rubber, he takes his sign, and he throws a strike. And I know that sounds very simple, but it's not easy to do. I just think that all Evan's stuff plays down in the zone. I think he knows exactly where to locate the baseball. And there's no moment too big for him. He does such a good job of keeping his heart rate low and getting the guys out of trouble. And like you said, when he comes into the ball game, I feel very, very confident that he's going to get the job done, whether it's soft contact or a strikeout.
JB, great stuff, brother. Thanks so much for making time.
Hey, thank you guys for having me, and great job, you and OB, going out to Memphis and covering the team. You guys did a great job.
I appreciate that, brother. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Later, man. JB Miles there on the hotline, as always, bringing good insight. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. Gerrod Chadwell is in the lobby. We'll bring him in here to the studio in a moment. Right now, we're talking to Heritage Films. YourHeritageFilm.com is the website, YourHeritageFilm.com. They make documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches, you name it. They'll do it for you. They'll do it, and you'll love it. That's a fact. I'm guaranteeing it, like George Zimmer used to do it. What would he say? I guarantee it. I'm guaranteeing that Chance will make it for you the right way. We're talking about family movies, right? But not like with your own camcorder or your iPhone. I'm talking documentary style, filmed with the right lighting, the great equipment, the videos, the clips, you name it. Put it all together for a family business, family ranch, family patriarch, family whatever, right? Eye in the Sky had a great family event, 2-hour documentary done the right way. That is one option that you have through Chance and Heritage Films. The other one is the Yearflix option, which I think is fantastic. Shorter video. Think about your kid who's about to graduate. Why not get in that 20-minute video done, Q&A form, find out all the great things, and use it as a benchmark. You can even have it freshman year of college, sophomore year of college, junior year, get your Aggie ring, senior year, bam. You get yourself a 4-part series with Chance. The phone number is 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341, or check out the website, YourHeritageFilm.com. That's YourHeritageFilm.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So 5th top 10 performance of the year there for the number 19 Texas A&M women's golf team. Up next, they're trying to defend their 2023 title at the SEC Championships. Gerrod Chadwell in studio to break it all down. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
How you been?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. That was great to hear. Sometimes you forget about that we're still the champs.
You are and until they knock you off, you're the champs. So
Amen.
Let's do it for 20 more years, man.
I'll take it. Just print the contract or whatever we need to do to sign that and stamp it.
Well, let's kind of look back and work our way ahead.
Yep.
How do you feel about this last one? Was it Vandy that finished number
Vandy,
one?
Vandy
they were really good, right?
Yeah, good. They had a great first round that really might have been the difference at the end because it seemed like everybody kind of played about the same the last 2 days. But we didn't play all that great the final round, but had a really dynamic finish, which we really haven't had the last 2 weeks. Our finish has kind of kept us from moving forward. So I think at one point when I was making the turn, walking with Adela, we might have been even in 5th, and Jenny birdied 2 or 3 out of her last 4. That's the one that I think I'm remembering, but everybody played solid coming down the stretch, and we were able to pass some people, even LSU right at the end.
Yeah. How does that prepare you for what's ahead?
I think, it's just familiar faces, right? Like it seems like we've been battling a bunch of SEC teams the past month and a half.
I feel like all year, honestly.
Really it is. But that's great. A couple years ago, we weren't battling with those teams. So, I think we're still moving closer to playing our best golf of the whole year. We still just haven't quite put 3 good rounds together. We've had really good individual moments, maybe 2 or 3 maybe play well on the same day. So I'm still excited for that. I feel like we're still moving forward instead of like, hey man, we got to flip a switch and get going.
Excuse this terrible comparison, and I know it didn't work out for the Aggie basketball team, but the way you're describing it, I'm thinking of what I thought at halftime of that game is like, dude, we've missed a bunch of free throws and Wade hasn't gotten hot yet, and we're in this game.
Yep.
If we just do 1 or 2 things, we're in this thing, right? Is that kind of how?
Yeah. You think of the basketball game, like you couldn't have scripted a better game plan for them, right? Like I was watching the Big 12 championship game against Iowa State, and Iowa State got the big guy in foul trouble, Roberts, and man, that's a key to how they move through their offense. And they got him in foul trouble early. We just didn't hit a bunch of free throws. But just as, man, like you watch a lot of their games this year, and they just figure a way to get it done. And it might not be pretty, but they might be down 15 mil the second half, and it's going to be a game at the buzzer. And
is that similar for you all? That it's different in the fact that you're finishing top 5, but if you do 1 or 2 little things, you're right there.
Without a doubt. There's way more good happening than bad. A lot of it, I think, is still more controllable than uncontrollable, just cleaning up some sloppiness. And once we do that, we're going to be very, very hard to beat. And it's just where this team's at. Mm-hmm. And it's been its story this year. And, the last 2 years have been different stories, but we own it, and we're still trying to work on it. We've got 2 great weeks of practice ahead. Jenny, Kata, and Haley will be playing at Augusta, so they'll get some competitive reps again before we go to SECs. But I'm still encouraging, still excited, is that we still got, man, what is it, over a month and a half left of the season. Yeah. So still got a lot of time to get things better.
And in golf, that's a long time.
It's a long time. We still got 2 weeks before SECs, whatever it would be, 2 weeks before a host-to-home regional, and then another week and a half before we leave for nationals. So still a lot of time to clean up the things that I think aren't like majorly broken.
Not a lot to clean up with Adela recently, right?
Oh my gosh. Just repeat. It's just impressive to watch her. If you watch her physically, she hits it far and hits it so good, hits it high. She's starting to become a better putter and managing things around the green a little bit better. I can't say enough good things about her. And she's been a rock for our team from a score-wise, and she's maturing and growing into a leadership role off the golf course.
Are other players kind of growing in that mindset as well?
For sure. We've got 3 seniors in that 5 traveling, and Kata is maturing a lot too and growing in things, and just little things. Like, it's just one thing that just stuck out to me is just how impressive she was just helping out.
Right.
You know, a freshman just kind of stands back and watches, and now she's like helping with luggage and moving things. What can I do to help? And so, you know, it's just little things that sometimes you just take for granted when you have a veteran team or teams that young ladies that have been around the program for 2.5 years. But gosh, she had a good week and it wasn't her best. Blanca had a big final round of 72. Zoe had a big first round of 69. So, you know, it's still a team effort, but once we all put it together, it's going to be a lot of fun.
For those that are going to Augusta, there's a lot of good that can come from it. Can any, like, do you need to play well there for it, or can struggles, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that translate to later?
Well, the one thing interesting about Clemson is kind of what we did topography-wise, like a ton of undulation. You had sometimes 15 yards down, 12 yards up on shots, and around College Station, it's pretty flat. Right. So from a topography-wise, I think it prepares them. You know, it keeps them sharp, but it's Champions Retreat, the first golf course they play 36 holes on to be able to play the Saturday championship round at Augusta National, I think is harder. And I don't say that any disrespect to Augusta National, but, you know, they set it up where the young ladies will score well on TV, but Champions Retreat is a very, very hard golf course. So I think just being around that topography at Clemson will help them adjust.
What does back-to-back weeks or tournaments of being runner-up mean that, like, is it the way you all are playing, or are other schools just reaching a level that you're consistent?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Well, I would say like Vanderbilt hadn't, you know, I think it was at the Moon in mid-February. I don't know if we saw them anywhere else, but they've been having a bunch of great final rounds. They hadn't got off to a good start, and I think they might have been leading after the first round. So it was for them to put a good week together, they won. And that's all we're missing, is just putting, maybe it's the middle round, or maybe it's just a better finish in Houston and Mountain View, and we win. We're holding a trophy. So, you know, you can't get away with just 2 good rounds and win at the level we're trying to get to. So I think you saw Vanderbilt put 3 good ones together and won by 6, and we had our chances, and we're that close. 6 shots can be made up in 2 or 3 holes on a golf course in team golf. So that's the margin of victory.
How much ownership do you think this team has for that SEC championship? Like, that's ours. You're gonna have to take it from us.
I don't know. That's a great question. I think what I would just say, looking at it from my point of view, is we've been just grinding so hard to make up those inches, where maybe it just came easier last year, that maybe we lose perspective that's when we show up, that's what people think of us as. Man, they won an SEC championship last year, 2 Final Four finishes, they're that good. I don't know. They're very humble. They don't brag, they don't boast. So I don't really know. It's a great question. You're trying to push them into that light, but it's a really good question.
When are you at your best? Are you at your best during these kind of seasons where you're right there and you're grinding, or when it comes easy, or like when do you feel like you do your best, your most impact?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to just sit back and just watch them play great. You know, I think the girls would say that I'm very chill on the golf course. You know, I said a couple weeks ago, I don't like losing. I'm trying to do better at that.
It's okay, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but it's just you still got to address the team when you're done, encourage them. So I'm trying to do better at that. I'm trying to do better at my body language when I know we're not playing well. You know, the last 2 places we've played, we haven't had great cell service, so it's been hard to check the leaderboard just to know where we should be on the golf course. So maybe that affects my mood or my body language. And maybe that's just our sport. We're that close. But I think of, like, watching Buzz on the sidelines, or, you know, Jimbo on the sidelines, like any of the coaches on the sidelines, they're emotional. And so it's just, golf's a little bit more interesting, I guess, in that aspect. But
it's not celebrated.
No, it's not. Like, it's the even keel is better. Like the girls,
it's more accepted than before, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think just
I think Tiger kind of opened it up to that it's a little bit okay.
You can be emotional, and sometimes I love that. I would say, you know, Kata is an emotional player. Everybody else probably more even keel, but it's just I don't know if it's a girl or guy thing. My disposition, my body language affects them. And so I'm trying to be mindful of that. Just trying to be mindful of how I stand. You know, you stand like this, you look discontent, so I try and stand with my hands behind my back. Right. So just mindful of that.
Do girls trash talk?
Yeah, a
but
little
different,
bit,
right?
Yeah, different.
Yeah.
It's just a different. It's funny, like you watch them like around the facility and stuff like that, and then you watch them on the ping pong table. It's totally different,
right?
No, they're competitive in their own right, and I think have gotten more. We're trying to encourage that as iron sharpens iron. I think just trying to compete makes yourself better. Like I see us as a great ball striking team. I wish we would take that next step forward with putting and around the greens, and I think that's one way to become that is just doing little competition stuff inside of practice.
Can that happen quickly? Like
yeah, they possess the shots. I think the hardest thing is it doesn't fail. Like each athlete has their own identity in what they do well in their competition. Yeah. I don't think any of the girls would come in and just say, yeah, putting's the best part of my game. And I think the hardest thing that we're trying to get them to do is encourage them to work on the things that they're not good at. Everybody wants to, if they show up at the facility today, they're probably going to go hit balls first. And so it's this, but you got to pass the putting green to come in and get your clubs and go to the range. So it's like, if we could just shift a little bit of focus to, man, if I can clean up this or spend just a little bit more time here, it doesn't take me as long to pick up my ball striking when it's off.
Well, let me ask, let me close with that. How difficult is that to stress, like fixing or working more on your deficiencies or areas that you want to, as opposed to what you're already pretty good at?
I think when you get a group that buys into that, great things happen.
And you can't make them, right?
You can, but like you want it to be a place that they enjoy coming to. Yeah. But my biggest thing, like practice should be hard. The game shouldn't be the hardest part, or competition shouldn't be the hardest part. And I don't think that's always the case, because you want to feel good. When you pull out of the gates, you pull out of the facility, you want to feel good, right? You want to feel better about yourself. And I think maybe that's what makes the great ones great. Like practice is a place to refine your skills, to get beat up, to compete. That way, when your name's called on the first tee, you've already kind of done the hardest part. Like you said, you've worked on your deficiencies. I've accepted that I'm not as good in this area, and I've spent the time to get better. So, but I think, I don't know. It's just, that starts from the top too. So we're trying to preach that, and you get a group that buys into it. But it's the difference, I think, in men's golf and women's golf. Women hit it straight, lose a lot of shots inside 100 yards. Guys hit it crooked, and they gain shots inside there. So if I could ever figure out the secret to that, be a rich man.
Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It's about leadership and it's about parenting, right? All at the same time. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. So I read this. Deion Sanders said that his son Shador and Hunter are not going to play for certain teams in the NFL next year. Like, they're going to kind of pick their scenario. Guys, I don't like the way that sounds. I just don't. I understand, like, man, I really don't want to go play for the Cincinnati Bengals. Sorry, Hop. I really don't want to go play here. I don't want to play. I understand internally thinking that, but there are certain things that I wouldn't want to verbalize. But we live in this player empowerment era, right? Like, that players are empowered or athletes are empowered to do what they want, and they've taken advantage of it, and it's their right, I guess. I don't like it. I didn't like it when Eli did it. I didn't like it when John Elway did it. I don't like picking your scenario unless you're a free agent. And even then, I don't even like it. Like, so I guess I don't like anything. I didn't like LeBron going to Miami. A lot of people didn't like it. Like, I understood, but I don't. If you're signing up to go to the NFL, it's like a pledgeship, if you will, right? Like, this is what you do. You get drafted. You go to court these teams, and then they draft you. And if the team that drafts you, unfortunately, is the Jacksonville Jags, well, that's where you go, right? Go play somewhere else. Go play in the XFL, or it's not an XFL. What's it called now? USXL, whatever.
UFL.
UFL.
United Football League.
Just call it the XFL, guys. Bunch of Aggies playing in that, by the way. But to me, it's like, if my head coach, give out the vibe that I remember. And Nick, I think you're the same way. Callie, you'll probably be the same way. I remember when I was an up-and-coming broadcaster, if you will. I didn't even have a job yet. I would tell people who interviewed me, I'd take a sports broadcasting job in Kazakhstan. I don't care. I just want to do what I love. If you love it, that's how it rolls, right? If you love something, put me in that scenario. Because at the end of the day, it's the same job. Now, do you want to go to a crappy organization? No. I understand reservations. I just don't like sending out that message like, I'm not playing there. We're not going to go there.
How much of this do you think it's just, because Deion Sanders, my gosh, I had a brain fart there. Deion Sanders likes the attention, right? Likes to bring attention. How much of this do you think is just clickbait or just trying to get the attention? I know it's not clickbait, but
maybe he's trying to get the attention of recruits. Like, hey, you come to Colorado.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Yeah, and there might be a little bit of that. But again, but I think the Deion situation is kind of intriguing because I don't like how he's doing it. But if it works, he could change the way teams go about their business, right? There's a little bit of that. But I care about the impact that I have on those that I work with. And he's doing it in a different way, right? He obviously cares too. He cares about where Travis Hunter's going to end up and where Shador's going to end up and all his athletes. There's an absolute love and care for his athletes. But I also want to do it with the right intentions and the right heart and lead by example. And obviously he's doing it at a much higher level. To me, it starts there. It starts with the parenting. It starts with the coaching. And the vibe I want to give off is I'll play anywhere. And then you can do some things behind the scenes to I don't want to go play in whatever city. I understand that. We all have these things. And then you have to ask yourself, is it worth playing in the NFL for those reasons? I just don't like it. I don't. And you get to pick where you go to college, right? If they're interested in you, if you're a star athlete, right? If you are a 5-star, if you're a first-round NFL potential pick, you don't get to pick where you go. But in college, you do get to pick where you go if they're interested in you. But it's not college. You want to pick where you go, stay another year. I don't know. It just bugs me the chirp and try to, pave your lane when there's a system in place for a reason. There is a draft. Now, you want to rework the system? That's a completely different conversation. But saying that I'm not going to go here because I don't want to, I don't like the GM there, I don't like the situation, I don't like the city, I don't like the weather. That's not how it works when you go play in the – how about all these great athletes that are going to go in the MLB draft and end up in these small minor league towns? You know what? I'm not going to go play for the Birmingham Barons. I'm just not a big Birmingham guy. It doesn't work that way. And I don't like the head coach steering athletes in that direction you can have private conversations like, yeah, I don't know if I'd want to go there, but this situation here. I don't know. What do you think about it? 979-693-1150. As I mentioned, we're turning the page from basketball and obviously baseball becoming a big topic, but we're spring football, and I'm looking forward to at some point making it out to spring practice. Won't be able to make it out today, but I do like what I'm hearing from Coach Elko, and I think you should too. And sound bites are just that. They are just sound bites. I do want to hear from Coach Elko, who was on the Paul Feinbaum show yesterday. And by the way, there's some news out there that Notre Dame, their starting quarterback, excuse me, why is his name escaping me? From
Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard. He's still not back yet, and he's going to miss more time in spring practice. Thank you, Nick. So that is just interesting. He'll be fine, but I think it is interesting when you change situations, go to a new team, and you miss part of spring practice. I think that hurts you. Like, look, Connor Wegman is not 100%. We heard the soundbite earlier from Coach Elko, but he's out there and he's able to do some things. I think it's important. And by the way, new system for him with some familiar faces, completely new for Riley Leonard. But let's hear from Coach Elko yesterday, who was on the Paul Feinbaum show with Roman Harper, about getting ready for that environment for the first game against Notre Dame.
It's going to be a tough one. The SEC has continued to expand. You're staying at 8 games, but all about the excitement of who all you guys are going to be facing. We got Arkansas. You're at Florida. I mean, starting off the season versus Notre Dame. Can we just talk about that excitement? What are the fans feeling? What are you hearing at Aggie Land right now?
Yeah, listen, there's no program in the country that has a bigger fan base than Texas A&M, and there's
be right about
there's no stadium that rocks on Saturdays quite like Kyle Field, and so our excitement is at an all-time high. I think people are excited about the direction of this program. I think we have a tremendous fan base that's going to come out here this fall and get behind this team and be loud and be boisterous and be the 12th man that they've been for years. And I think when you look at the home slate, I think it lines up really good. I think we've got some really high-level games that are going to happen in College Station and Kyle Field this fall, and that's something not only our program's excited about, but these fans are going to show up in big time. And until you've been in Kyle on a Saturday night, primetime kickoff, you got a bucket list item you still got to check off.
Well, Coach, the bucket list item I got to check off is actually I got to go to Yale practice the day before the game.
Yeah, you do, Roman. We'll bring you. We'll get Billy to take you out there. We got 5 months before that Notre Dame game, roughly 5 months. And I wish it was tomorrow. But we still got a spring game to get into. Let's hit a break. When we come back, we're going to go around the SEC, not just A&M. We'll find out what's happening all around the conference. Right now, caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggieland Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch and Greensbury Road. And their new location, Texas Avenue in College Station, across from the shopping center with Planet Fitness right there. Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership. But we're going to give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggieland Express in South College Station, 979-693-1150. It's a good one right here. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner's got some around the SEC for us. Callie?
Yes, I do. We'll stay in basketball. I know we want to get to baseball. We'll stay in basketball for just a little bit. There's 2 SEC teams left in the men's tournament. Alabama faces UNC and Tennessee faces Creighton. I'm really excited for the Tennessee-Creighton game. I think that could be a Final Four game, kind of right there in the Sweet 16. ESPN has both the SEC teams favored in their respective matchups. They have Alabama at 52.3% and Tennessee favored at 57.7%. So excited to see how those games turn out.
People have been coming after the SEC, and I get it. I mean,
a
lot of teams have lost, but Big 12's lost some teams as well. And that's supposed to be the best conference out there. It's happening, and Tennessee is a team that I think a lot of people have said will make the Final Four.
I think they can do it. I've had a lot of conversations about basketball and the Big 12 and their conference being the best basketball conference, and maybe they are. But if you look at it by the numbers, which is hard to do in a tournament, but the Big 12 has 2 teams left in the Sweet 16, and so does the SEC. So. And I don't know if I would have picked Alabama and Tennessee to be the 2 teams left from the SEC. I definitely would have picked Tennessee, but Alabama kind of shocked me there. But in the women's side, we have 2 teams also left, and we have LSU facing UCLA and then South Carolina facing Indiana after 3 SEC teams lost in their round of 32. And Vanderbilt hired Mark Byington as their next men's basketball coach, and he was previously the head coach at James Madison for 4 seasons. And then Georgia Southern for 7 before that, and he most recently led James Madison to the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. So maybe he can turn some things around up there in Nashville. UGA is still holding out hope for a postseason championship in the NIT. They play Ohio State tonight at 7 p.m. for a spot in the semifinals against the winner of the UNLV and the Seton Hall game. And on the women's side, the Lady Bulldogs of Mississippi State take on Penn State in the quarterfinals of the WBIT on Thursday at 6. And SEC baseball continues to dominate the top 25. They are holding 6 of the top 8 spots in the, and then 10 teams holding spots in the top 25, which is just really impressive. It's kind of just been a toss-up on all the weekends. I kind of thought I knew it was going to happen, and these teams have came out there and shocked me as far as, South Carolina and their win over Vanderbilt. That was really impressive. And then Florida taking down LSU. You kind of just never know what's gonna happen on those weekends. And SEC softball is also showing out with really impressive showings. They have 9 teams in the top 20. So SEC softball is just as much of a gauntlet as the SEC baseball season is. So we're excited to see these seasons keep playing out as they go.
Yep. Here's one from Bosis and Katie. Says, morning, guys. Buzz needs to find guys that can shoot and defend, so our offense is not just 2 guys for the most part of the season. He needs to get 2 skilled bigs that can dominate. Now, look, I think on yesterday I kind of went through what my wish list would be. The offense was not the problem at the end of the year. I don't necessarily love the offense at times, but it was not the problem. I mean, you're scoring more than 80 points a game down the stretch, and I know, yes, there was an overtime game in the mix, but you do that, your offense is working. What didn't work against Houston was they couldn't stop Houston. Yeah, they had their offensive lapses, no doubt about it, but they could. If I think my wish list was a big, a shooter, and a defender. I think you add a Dexter Dennis type to this team who's got some three-point ability, it changes everything. Absolutely everything. And let's not forget, losing Boots, hopefully Manny definitely slid into a great part of the rotation, a great role there. But I do believe that if you get a guy who's long and can shoot, and of course the ability to attack the rim is so important, but you get a guy, a Dexter Dennis-esque player, that would be my first wish. Love to have a couple guys on the bench that what they do is they're three-point specialists, just to every once in a while make that defense, have to worry about you and open up the lanes to allow a Manny and a Wade hit the rim. So we can get into a lot more throughout the show. Here's what we have for you. We'll talk to Tom Hart to start off the next hour. Tom will join us here on Zoom in a moment, and we'll close out the Pounding the Rock series with Tap and Hop to end out the show. We'll do that. We'll get to your text messages and your phone calls. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. You know what I appreciate about Tom Hart? I don't know if he did it himself or he had somebody do it for him, but I have to have my bed made, and I'm looking at the hotel room that he's in right now perfectly. I don't know. It looks like a professional did it. It doesn't look like Tom did it, but regardless, Tom, early in the morning, bed made. I appreciate that, my friend.
I'd like to take credit for that. I just checked into this hotel. I literally just, yeah. So I hope it's made. I just walked in. How was you got to scratch that travel itch this weekend. Any observations about being a business traveler?
Well, look, I didn't want to go to Memphis because every NCAA tournament I end up somewhere that, I really don't want to go, like Des Moines 2 years ago, Memphis. I've had great times at both places, so that's the beauty of going. Like I've figured out an appreciation. There's a little bit of a homeless issue in downtown Memphis, but the food was phenomenal. The people were so polite. And even though the Aggies didn't win that game, it was a really good experience.
It's a cool arena. They love hoops there. It's just a fun event, right?
Yeah.
But I did have a traveler observation on my flight this morning. Did you fly? You drove, right?
We drove, unfortunately. Yeah.
Drove, yeah.
That sucks.
So I don't know how many of the listeners can relate to this, but above your seat, they have the little air vent, right? And there's two types of air vents. There's one that looks like a true nozzle, and it's got a perforated ring, and you just turn that ring, and it's really simple, like a regular nozzle, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And then there's one that's kind of more of a disc, and it's got little ledges within the disc, and you have to twist it open or close. But the encasing around that disc also moves. So every time you try to twist it, you just turn the whole thing in a circle. It's like this cruel joke that the Boeing people are playing on us. Like, hey, we're going to watch these idiots. You're just going to spin this thing for 5 minutes, and it's not going to change any of the airflow.
Yeah, you know what? I want to ask you about that, because sometimes when the airflow, it affects the people next to you too. And then what about the window? Like, does the person who's closest to it really get to determine who gets light and who doesn't? I don't think that's fair.
May not be fair, but it's the rules of the road. Yeah. And by the way, also, if you're in the middle, if you get stuck in the middle seat, you have the right to both armrests. It doesn't mean you shouldn't share and be a good neighbor.
Right.
There's a way to share, but the cost of being at the window of the aisle means if there's somebody that unfortunately gets stuck in the middle, the only benefit to that is they get the armrest. As far as the airflow is concerned, it can be used in your advantage, right? It's not uncommon to be stuck next to someone who's maybe a little gassy, right? The easiest thing to do, especially if it's full blast, point it right at them.
Okay.
And look at them when you do it.
Eye contact.
That's key. Like, buddy, really? Like, we're all stuck in here together. Could you be more inconsiderate than letting us all in on it? Like, keep it to yourself, pal.
This is actually a good track. I want more on this topic, because what about when you get the inside seat or the window seat and you got to go to the restroom, but that person in the aisle seat's asleep? Do you wait? Do you wake them up? No. Does it depend?
No, you can't wait. You can't wait, because you never know what's going to happen in the air, right? Yeah. At any moment, the pilot could come on and be like, hey, seatbelts on, we got some turbulence. And if you miss that window and now you're stuck for the remainder of the flight, then you're bordering emergency situation.
Yeah.
A polite tap. Sometimes you got to nudge your shoulder. That's the cost of doing business. Listen, there's benefits and detractions from sitting anywhere you choose on a commercial flight. If you get the aisle, you get a little bit more leg room before and after the cart comes down. I'm sorry, cost of doing business. Kind of like sitting at the aisle at a sporting event.
Yeah.
You wish people wouldn't come and go, but they're going to come and go. That's what sorry.
You know, I play the game of I gauge the situation. Like, I'm not going to wake them up until I have a clear path to the bathroom, because if there's a line developing, I'll wait it out.
That's smart. That's smart traveling. You are a considerate traveler, and I wish there were more of you, because it's the one thing like Waterworld or any of these like crazy end of time movies. Like, it is every man and child for himself once you hit the airport. Like, even before you get into TSA line, people forget all rules and societal regulations, and they just put their head down and try to power through.
I panic in those lines because I don't know when the right time to take the belt off and the shoes off. I don't want to do it too early, right? Because that's weird. Don't want to be too late and slow people down. And then I have all these like little bins. You got to take your laptop out. You got to put your shoes in. And some airports have different rules.
Just my advice is, as a consistent traveler, like, be observant, notice what others are doing, have your boarding pass out.
Yeah.
At least one person removed from when you get to the kiosk at the line. Like, there's no excuse to be fumbling through. It's like waiting in a long line at a fast food restaurant or Starbucks, and you get up there and go, let me think about it. No, bro, you've been in line. You've had minutes and minutes and minutes to consider what you're going to do. Get to the front, get your business done. Let's move this thing along.
Last thing on this topic, which I think either we gained a lot of listeners or lost them all. I treat the TSA agent like George Costanza would treat the soup guy. Like, I don't make eye contact. Like, that's a relationship that I'm scared. I don't want to go the wrong way there.
That's smart. They don't want small talk. They don't have time for it. And the only thing that can happen is bad.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want them to notice you. You don't want them to remember you. You don't want them talking about you once they go for a break during their shift.
Yeah.
Scan it, move on. Scan it, move on. That's really smart traveling right there.
Thank you. Hey, that was 7 minutes in, and now we'll talk about the Aggie basketball season and the run. Look, man, this season had so many different subplots and different storylines. Look, I'm disappointed they lost, but what a fun group for me to follow, and I know you had a lot of their games as well.
Man, and I think the last, whatever was, minute 20 kind of encapsulated what the season was. I mean, it was just madness. At any moment, they could go nuts. I had the game on. I watched it for the most of the first half, and I even tweeted at halftime. What, Wade had 1 point at half, right? And I said, this dude's about to go off for 28 in the second half. Now, he didn't, but he went for 20. That's pretty good. And Boots had a great game. And to see Anderson Garcia hit that shot, I don't know. I'm sure Buzz was asked about it. My guess is that wasn't the plan for Anderson Garcia to get the look, but I've never seen somebody come so wide open on an end-of-game play. And so, obviously, it worked out perfectly, whether Wade was a decoy or not. It worked out really well. I was just impressed given the slide that they had, like 2/3 of the way through the conference schedule. Is that about right from a calendar standpoint? I thought they were done. I thought they were just going to peter out. In fact, I had another SEC coaching staff tell me, those guys are toast. And I said, what do you mean? Like, they've got a lot of talent. Oh, no, they're very talented. But they've already got, they're already hitting around the portal. They already got guys looking. Like, it's not a good situation. I don't know, and I shouldn't even comment on whether any of that is true. That happens with every team. But if even an inkling of that is true, and Buzz was able to get these guys dialed back in as a team, which I think is really hard, even when you just have one individual or two individuals off doing their own thing, and to get them back to this point, not only the run in Nashville, which was really impressive, kind of playing like a different team with Manny late in the season, hitting all those threes in the SEC tournament, and playing so well against the top defensive team in the country. You nearly put 100 on them. That is really impressive stuff, and I think it's indicative of the way of Buzz's strength as a coach, right? I mean, he is detail oriented, and he's got binders on binders and binders of stats and all this stuff. But really, it's about the team and the family that they create. And it sounds cheesy sometimes, and people, I think, roll their eyes other times. But it's what allows you to get through the ups and downs of a stressful year like this.
And I also think it allows you, when you do go through turmoil and people are concerning the portal, that family-like atmosphere. I feel like Buzz teams, that's harder to leave that team than it is maybe some other places.
100%. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of, I was just on a flight the other day, or maybe a couple weeks ago, with the dad of a former all-SEC defensive lineman who played at one of the top schools, who's now in the NFL. And we're talking about the coaching staff. And I said, how did your son like playing for Coach X? And he goes, man, it was really hard because it was all transactional. It was, here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what you're going to do for me. And if it works out, great. He goes, but then there are times where you question, all right, is this best for me or is it best for you? And where do you find the middle of the line? That's probably not uncommon with college football, especially the top tier programs. But I think that's a concern for players. Like, how can I be treated like a person and not just a provider, not a bucket getter, not a rebounder, not a defensive guy? Like, treat me like a person, like you would want to be treated. And he does an amazing job of that.
Justin Lanham was on our show yesterday, and he said that relationships with Buzz are transformational, not transactional. And that's exactly what you just basically said.
Wow, that's a big word. Yeah, that's a big word. And I think it's important to learn in your life, whether you're 17 or 22 or 32 or 52, that you can have transformational relationships if you've only had transactional, right? I mean, whether it's your first real dating relationship or your third marriage, no matter what it is, like, I think that's incredibly powerful, and it can be transformational because it helps you learn to value who you are and not just what somebody else thinks about you or what you can bring to them.
One last thing on this basketball team. Boots is moving on, obviously. Had a wonderful run at A&M, one of the best transfers we've seen here. Just when you think back at Boots and his impact and what he just did the other night with his 20-plus points and 15 rebounds, just some thoughts about Boots.
Yeah, 6 assists, too. I think to appreciate him, you have to consider his entire journey, where he came from, how he got with Buzz, taking a Greyhound bus to Virginia Tech, not playing for an entire year, trusting, and his entire family trusting in Buzz that he's going to get me on the right track. And the focus and the discipline it takes to produce at a level like he did for so long, that can be transformational, right? I mean, hopefully it's the beginning of whatever's next for him. He can continue to play basketball for a while at the pro ranks and get paid to do it. But then eventually whatever's next outside of just being a basketball player, I think that's something that's going to teach him life lessons he's already learned. And I don't know that I think he'd be a fascinating sit down. Like Billy would do a great job with it. Like, sit down with Boots Radford in 10 years. And say, where were you at 17 and where are you now at, 32? And what difference did your time at Texas A&M or your time with Buzz Williams make in your life? And it could be like a 30 for 30. I mean, I think it would be really inspirational.
Hey, Dan Hurley, I saw you tweeted about this. I found it interesting how superstitious he is. Same clothes from last year's run. Eats M&Ms. I think 8 is the number. We'll have coffee during the game. Just very superstitious, Tom.
But what got me, listen, I'm all for routine, right? And I think that routine gives us a sense of stability, and it can be our safety net, right? I mean, I wear this hoodie like almost every basketball shoot around I go to. I know I can throw it in my bag, get ready to go shoot around, grab my hoodie, go, come back, change, whatever. Like, everybody has a certain sense of routine in their life. But the idea that his wife washes his underwear in the hotel room every night so he can then wear it again the next day, that's weird. Like, that's not superstitious. That's weird. And here's the other part about it. I don't know exactly how UConn travels, but generally speaking, if you're on the road for a while with a basketball team, or any team for that matter, everybody has laundry that needs to be done, and there are managers that do the laundry. And they're either doing it at the hotel, it's a big league team, they're doing it at the stadium or at the ballpark. It's available to you to hand it off to the guys who are washing the jocks and the mesh shorts and the practice gear. Like, that's fine. Why are you doing it in your hotel room? That's just a touch too far. You know what I mean?
And you know what? I've actually washed clothes in my hotel room without using the washer and dryer, and you put your clothes on top of the air conditioning. It doesn't dry. It doesn't dry at all, actually. So it's better to have a professional do it.
Yes. There are ways to get it done. I think he can probably figure that out with all of the support that they have for a national championship program.
Tom, your thoughts on Caden Proctor? Leaves, he leaves, and he leaves again, and then he comes back.
Do we know what kind of signing bonus he got when he left?
No clue, but it must have been good.
Is the thought, I mean, that was the first thing that came in my mind. Well, he probably got a signing bonus to go, put that in his pocket, and then came back and double dipped on this whole situation. I hate to use one kid as the example that this system is broken, but he's the most obvious. When processes work in transactions, they work for all parties involved, right? It's why your attorney general sometimes will investigate a company for gouging prices, or why other grocery stores keep their prices up after COVID and claim supply chain interruption. And now attorneys general are looking into them saying, Kroger, you got to bring your prices back down. It's not fair for the consumer. Something has to find a balance here. And I don't know that you can put restrictions in place until you get to a point where you can collectively bargain what these players are considered, whether they're employees or whatever definition you want to give them. But he'll be a case study and why things will change.
Last thing for you. I saw this. Tim Montemayor from the Monty Show is reporting that the Big 12 is looking to get Duke and really turn into this basketball conference. Obviously, they've tried to get Gonzaga. There's going to be a lot more of these changes, man. Like the ACC is over there going to countersue Clemson. They've got all these different things happening. The way we look at conferences here in the next 2 to 4 years will certainly be different.
It's so backwards. Yeah. It's just backwards. It's why should Duke and Carolina not be in the same conference? Why were Texas and Texas A&M not in the same league for so many years? Baylor is right up the street. Houston is right down the road. None of it makes any sense. And for Duke and listen, credit Big 12 for being proactive and saying, hey, listen, Carolina might be on its way to the Big 10 or the SEC. Duke, you don't want to be left holding the bag. How about you come over here, be with Kansas and Arizona? The major issue, though, is that basketball, despite the numbers that we see in the postseason and the ratings in the NCAA tournament this year have been gonzo. They've been awesome. But for the majority of the season, it is just a sliver of what football ratings are, and therefore, from a revenue standpoint, just a sliver of what football can be. Hey, cool. You want to be a basketball conference? That's great. I'm a college basketball fan, and it seems to be a fit, but it also seems to be like either a backward step or a sideways step. I don't know how that fixes the revenue disparity between the Big 12 and then the Big 10 and the SEC.
Tom, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, safe travels next time, okay?
Yes,
go
sir.
Someplace nicer than Memphis.
Hey, let's go on a plane together. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, let's go. You can have the middle seat.
Thanks, brother. Take care.
All right, see you.
Tom Hart here on TexAgs Radio. Appreciate his time. As always funny stuff and great insight. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with an open segment, then the Pounding the Rock segment with Hap. That's your new nickname, Hap. Hap and Top? Wait. Tap and Hop. I don't know. I got issues. Are you tired of living with chronic joint pain? You probably should be. You got knee pain? You probably do. You got shoulder pain? Maybe you got that too. You got pain in your hips and your back? If that's the case, you need to reach out to our good friends at QC Kinetics because they want you to move forward and enjoy your life. They're the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. We're talking lasting pain relief, lasting joint pain relief with no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. It's a fact that they are transforming lives of thousands and thousands of people, thousands upon thousands out there using, harnessing your own body's agents to restore and repair that damaged tissue out there. Pro athletes have been doing it for decades, but these life-changing treatments are available for you right here in the Brazos Valley. They brought it here so you can walk, run, climb stairs, play golf, and move once again with no pain, no surgery, no downtime. They want you back to doing what you love to do with all natural solutions. They've had tens of thousands of satisfied patients who have reclaimed their mobility. So you can take action right now and live your best life this spring and this summer. It's a great use of your tax refund check, by the way. Call QC Kinetics right now for a free consultation. That number, 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Just catching up on some of this news out here. Cameron Sutton was at Lions facility when warrant went public. He was at the facility last week. I don't know anything about this story. I don't know if this has been in the news. I've been so into college basketball. The Lions, I guess, told Fox 2 in Detroit that a member of the team was able to talk with Sutton and advise him to turn himself in. The Lions then released him the next day and just kind of showed up unexpectedly to work out. We were able to talk to him in person, not me, but other members of the staff. He left the building. We released him the next day. No one has spoken to him since. The Hillsborough County officials made their warrant for Sutton public last week, and they haven't been unable to locate him since March the 7th when the arrest warrant was issued out there. He's facing a charge in domestic battery, strangulation, and third-degree felony. Interesting. Not a good interesting, just interesting that the Lions had to deal with that, Dan Campbell and company. But he's been cut. He's no longer there. Also, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this Shohei Ohtani thing. Nick, you're an Astros fan, and I feel like Astros fans, and I'm an Astros fan too, kind of want for Shohei to be given the Altuve treatment nationally, right? Well,
yeah, I mean,
even if he is a good guy, right?
I would say it's fair that Astros fans as a whole, I'm not saying this is me, but Astros fans as a whole do enjoy the controversy around the Dodgers. But I'm with you. I don't really know what to make of it. I've talked to Richard about it. He's
what does Richard think?
The Dodgers fan. He thinks everything's out there. He thinks Ohtani is telling the truth, and that may be the case.
Look, I'm going to just tell you, not because I want it to be true or not, like it doesn't add up in my book.
Yeah, some of the backtracking is the weird part for me. Like, some statements that have come out from.
They were boys that day. Like, they were hanging. Like, it was cool.
Yeah. So I mean.
But look, there might be a reason for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the MLB is investigating it. Who knows how thorough and deep the investigation will be? But I mean, we'll see what comes out of it. Again, I think it's still too early to, but innocent till proven guilty is how I want to look at it. I don't want to.
Is this a court of law or is this just a talk show?
That's the way people should look at it, and I don't think that's the case anymore with social media and all that. But I mean, again, we'll see what comes of it. I don't know what to think. Too early for me to tell.
Look, and that's the problem. Everybody's got to have a hot sports take or like an opinion without facts being, look, he might have done nothing. I don't think that was good grammar. But possibly he has no involvement in this, that he has been taken advantage of by somebody who was very close to him. Okay. Possibly he did a lot of things that could affect the game, and would baseball want to cover it up? I don't know. I don't want to speak on it too early. I don't think from what I've read and seen, the story doesn't add up to me. And I'm sure that there's going to be a Zapruder film situation where we're going to be able to figure out exactly, they were hanging out on Thursday, whatever day. And I don't know. I don't want to have too much of an opinion of it. I don't like the cloud that it brings to the game. But I believe in due time we'll have way more information on it. But do you really think baseball wants to investigate this? They didn't. They were almost forced to investigate the Astros, right? Like, it would have been swept under the rug if it didn't become a much bigger thing. And then the social media sleuths out there started, doing their story and investigating. And by the way, then when other investigations proved that other teams, not schools, were doing similar things, that was like, no, we're not going to get into that.
I think the most interesting thing about all this is how, I guess, sports betting is kind of coming out in a negative light across all sports. Like just recently, I don't know the player, but I know there's an NBA player who just got
Toronto
suspended
Raptors.
For betting on sports. And again, we're not saying, or we don't know if Ohtani did that or not, but it involves sports betting with a cloud over the sport. So just interesting to see how that kind of business continues to evolve around, professionals betting on the sport they're playing.
Yeah, but I think it's always been there. We just have more information and evidence now. Like, again, if some of these guys that have been in trouble, who was it? I think it was a Lions player, wasn't it? That maybe it wasn't Lions. It was somebody that weren't they in the facility betting, and you can kind of geo-track it.
I think that was an LSU player.
Was it LSU?
Who was betting, and he placed like an insane amount of bets in a short period of time.
And there's also the Alabama baseball coach last year.
Yep.
So I mean,
there you go.
Unfortunately, there's a lot more of these situations and scenarios out there. But the Shohei thing, it's not a good look for baseball. But at the end of the day, he's not. If I don't even want to say him. This does happen. We just got a NBA report. We've had baseball reports. I mean, we've had football reports. Unfortunately, it is going to happen. It's not uncommon. I think it's uncommon to be the biggest name in baseball and be involved in this kind of scandal. But again, not enough information is out there. The story was going one direction. Who was it? The LA Times that was doing? No, it was ESPN.
Yeah, it was ESPN.
Who was doing the initial investigation. And then it kind of like all of a sudden turned. So we'll see what direction it goes. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, look, guys, it's the last week of basketball coverage. We'll be covering the NCAA Tournament. We'll be talking about it. Sweet 16's coming up, obviously. Elite Eight, Final Four. We'll get into it. But we're going to pound the rock with HAP. That's their new name, HAP. Tap and Hop, next on TexAgs Radio. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we'll talk to those guys. But right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. They're online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. When you're looking for a vehicle, start there. Start on the website, see what they have, see if you like it. And then if you're like, I think I want to try that Tahoe out, go out there, and I think you're going to be very happy with your experience when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet because, A, the pricing is going to be good. The trade-in value is going to be good. The people are going to be really good. And then beyond all that, you're going to get a great experience, right? You're going to get the right car at the right price at the right time with the best customer service experience. And that customer service experience starts when you get there, but it continues on through the life of the car because they have the best customer service out there in the Brazos Valley. They've got complimentary pickup and delivery for all their service customers. They are proud supporters and sponsors of A&M Athletics. They hold their staff to very high standards, and there's a reason R.C. Slocum only buys his cars there from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. There's a reason Dante Hall has bought his there. It is the place to go when you're ready for a new vehicle. 15-minute drive, Brian Caldwell, short conversation away. But you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hap time, pounding the rock.
Hap. Am I Hap or Top? I mean, you know, so.
Well, you're Tap.
Oh, thank you.
He's Hop. I combined the two and made Hap on accident, by the way.
So he'll be pounding it with Hap. At least just pounding the rock, as long as we keep coming.
A happy segment. Guys, tell me if I'm wrong here. I found this season, like I asked a question after the game, and with a little distance from the loss, I enjoyed this season. Like it didn't go as far as I wanted it to. It never does, right? But I enjoyed it. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, when the team was 6-9 and looking like they're dead in the water, people kept saying, all I want to do is win a game in the tournament.
Yep.
All I want to do is, now they're going, all I want to do is go to Sweet 16. So it's never going to be good enough for the average fan. But yeah, I mean, the fact that, there were going to be some serious questions about this program's future had they, went 6-9 and then finished up 8-10 and didn't go to the postseason. Now I think you can see a path to where there's a message to sell, to bring in a couple transfers, and they've got a lot of folks coming back, so they can still make a pretty good run next year. Well,
if frustration or frustrating makes you happy, because again, this may have been one of the more frustrating years I remember watching. I guess with the, the high expectations, and then again, we did so well, we felt like pre-Christmas, before we go to conference. But again, this team, and Buzz is very good at this, continue to improve. And we kept banking on that. How many times did we sit here and go, hey, Buzz always gets this team playing well and at the end, and he did it again.
Yeah, he did it again. And I think it's interesting how his teams, and we always talk about them getting better as the year goes on. And it was February, we moved back the target to mid-February or whatever you want to say. But it'd be interesting if they could have a preseason before their season, like a real preseason, because they do this is a team that gets better with experience together and fine-tuning as the year goes on.
Yeah. Well, but this year was, I thought, different from the other years. Some of their best wins on paper came in November and December. Yeah. Iowa State was in November. That not too many people talked about. Ohio State was a quad 1 win in November. So I don't know. It was really strange how it was promising. Then they went into the Valley and they came back. And I do think that at some point in time, the staff needs to figure out and construct how can we get this on the right path sooner and not have these valleys. So.
That's a great point. And, so the philosophy of that they were told you have to schedule harder got us into the tournament. There's no doubt. But they did start out strong, and I think we were excited. Just wait till Julius Marble comes back. Just wait. And unfortunately, that never occurred. But, you just kept waiting. Okay, they're here. They're this close. They're this close. And how many times did I think, maybe just in my own head, I said, I don't understand why Manny's not playing. Because we knew it was either going to be super great or super bad. And so whatever happened towards the end and Manny's improvement just, I think, flipped the switch. And I go back also to, Boots missed some time with some injuries. And I think that's why he still had energy at the end of the season, where last year you go back, he had nothing. He was running on an empty tank.
Yeah.
What changes would you guys, and Tappy starts off, like to see for next year? When I say changes, like maybe types of players, maybe offensive wrinkles, what would you like to see different?
I guess I would like to find a consistent shooter, 3-point shooter from the outside, because we're going to penetrate. We have the players that can go. But so if you force them to come off, kick it out, it seems like every other team finds that shooter and is able to knock it down. Hayden Hefner kind of started the season off like that and then didn't continue it. But I just think we need to know, we kick it out and you go back to some of the players we've had, in history that we knew once we penetrate it, we kick it out to Josh Carter. That's a 3-pointer. I think we need someone like that.
Yeah. And we talked about this in Memphis. For me, it's finding that defensive stopper. They need somebody that can play on the ball, can guard.
Dexter Dennis.
Dexter Dennis. That's where I thought, in general, where this team, why you saw a lot of the inconsistency, is that they couldn't stop the opponent when they needed to. And so it really, the dependency of whether they won or lost came on would they get hot or not.
Right.
As opposed to, well, we know they're going to keep the opponent to 62 points a game. We just have to figure out a way to score 63. So I think that they need to find somebody that can stop the ball at the top of the key.
But I also think a lot of that goes into the defensive philosophy, where it's such a help and recover and rotate and recover defense that they're not accustomed to having, okay, I got to get you one-on-one. I'm sure if we told Solomon Washington, your job right now is not allow that penetration. Again, do you want your 6'7" guy guarding a 6'1" point guard? But I think ours is so much, we're going to allow penetration, but then we're going to stop it, and we're going to force them to kick it out to the corner where it's the least, or make it. And I think Houston's success was they were making that second pass, and we couldn't recover. So some of that I think is philosophy that I'm not saying we just sit there and allow penetration, but we force penetration, and that's why we're not as good at stopping somebody on ball.
Can Jace Carter be that Dexter? I don't see I don't think he's a bad defensive player, but Can he be that guy?
I didn't see him as that. I thought he was a average to solid defender.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see him as being
elite.
Don't worry about that guy. Jace has him or Dexter has him. I didn't feel that. He's a good solid player. I think he's someone next year, if he can really get into the gym and sharpen up his shot a little bit, I do think he brings a lot of intangibles that fit into Buzz's philosophy.
Right.
He started rebounding hard there toward the end and just doing some things everything that Buzz likes to do. So if we can get him up to 35%, 36% three-point, I think he becomes a pretty big presence next year.
You know, I still remember the first game we went into, and we were asking Buzz about different players, and we said, Jace Carter, and he goes, stud. I mean, that was just his one-word answer about him. But then when we see him play, it still felt like, to me, he was thinking too much on the floor, trying to figure out the system, both offensively and defensively, as opposed. Now, towards the end, I think he relaxed, and started playing better. But I think early on, we just never saw it, and he never felt comfortable. And as you said, I think next year, hopefully that comfort level is higher.
When you watch this Houston-Duke game, are you going to have A&M goggles on watching it, like what it could have been?
I don't know. Typically, I will watch, but I emotionally detach myself, and I just kind of watch it for the sake of watching. So, no, I mean, the season, it was what it was. I think when you look over the last 3 to 4 weeks, it was a good run.
Yeah.
It was good. Now, what do you do to stop those valleys in January?
And Buzz has a plan for everything, and you got to figure he's working on something like that, and probably during the season. Why do we always at some point have it, whether we start out 0-8 or something, why do we have those valleys? And I'm sure he's got somebody talking to him, and he's going reading books and everything else. I mean, you got to give Buzz credit. He's never just going to sit back and do the same thing every season.
Yeah. So would you say it was a successful season?
Yeah. I think anytime Texas A&M basketball gets in the NCAA tournament and wins a game, you have to say that's a successful season.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Was it a little disappointing? Did we have those higher expectations, back in October, November? Yeah. But still, again, for everything they go through, they fought back, and it was a success.
How will you all remember Boots?
Oh, I mean, his nickname, Buzz's nickname for him, tough as boot leather, is perfect. I mean,
it is perfect.
I tell you what, that was so entertaining to watch in that U of H. They were so physical, and we talked about this. Probably the refs let them be way more physical than we were expecting. And Boots just kept getting pounded and pounded. His first shot would miss, and he'd grab the rebound. And he's just incredible. Just his maturity, his physical maturity, his emotional maturity. He's going to be missed. There's no question.
To me, the just the steadfastness that he brought. He never saw a whole lot of emotion either way, which was good. Like you said, that's that emotional maturity. But I'd still like to take a tape measure and see if he's really even 6'2". Now his arms, he had longer arms, and that certainly helped him. But, again, what was one of the big stats I always said? The leading rebounder in the country of everybody under 6'2". I mean, I think he did that for the last 2 years, but it's phenomenal. And he's just going to be tough to replace because Buzz just put his name in the lineup every time he was healthy.
Where can a Henry take his game? Because we've seen flashes, and even in this tournament, he showed flashes. Where does Henry take his game?
Well, first of all, Henry needs to get healthy. Yeah. It needs to be completely healthy. He to me, he's one of those guys that he's going to do the dirty work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he was starting to show early in the season a mid-range jumper.
Yep.
And so if he can develop that a little bit, I think that'll help. I think Henry's value to the team and to the program is his character and the fact that he is a glue guy. I think he's going to be the person that does the little things. You look up, he gets you 8, 9, 10 points, gets you 6, 7 rebounds, and makes the big plays when you need it underneath.
Similar to me, get that mid-range jumper, face the basket from 10 feet in. He's not really a back-to-the-basket guy, which he's had to do for us, but get it, make a drive a couple of times. Maybe set some off-ball screens for some shooters, then they focus on him. Then he pops right there at 10 feet. And he has that choice, but he's fundamentally sound. There's no doubt, and he plays hard, and he's got that great attitude, like you said. I think it's just sometimes he's just got to keep that intensity. I'd love to see him just become as mean as his body looks like.
Where does Manny take his game?
Whoever. I think Manny clearly needs to get in the gym and work on his perimeter shot. He looked good the last couple games.
Yeah.
But clearly that's an area I think all of our guys need to get in the gym and improve their perimeter shot. I mean, it's just as a team when you're shooting 29, 30%, that's just you're putting too much pressure on the equation. You're putting but for Manny, clearly he needs to work on a shot. Also, his handle needs to be a little tighter on his handle.
He loses some balls.
So, but I think what we saw in the last month was transformational with Manny.
No doubt, like to see him work on a different, some more, moves as he goes to the basket. He kind of fell into that love with that go to the right, spin back to the left. Thought Houston realized that, shut that down a little bit in the second half. Just get a little more creative as he is. I mean, he can finish with both hands. He's got the athletic ability, and I think he'll put the work in.
Where does Wade take his game? Because I think maybe a little strength, maybe a little more size. Every year he's gotten a little bit bigger and stronger. Is that maybe the next place he takes his game?
I think so. I thought that U of H was a bad matchup for Wade.
Mm-hmm.
He was just physically dominated the times that he'd go into the paint, looking for his teardrop or whatever, just completely physically dominated. He needs to put on more muscle mass, needs to be stronger. Also for his defense, I think that's where he really needs to improve. I think his defense needs to go to another level because at times his defense was a liability out there.
Yep.
Again, you couldn't say it better. Just get stronger. I mean, he knows the game, maybe understands sometimes what a good shot is and a bad shot due to what's going on the floor, on the game, not just because we don't want you to shoot. There were times the other night he passed the ball and I go, why didn't you shoot the ball?
Right.
So,
and then he took shots. You're like, why did he shoot that?
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think as good as he is, and just know the game at the time and make the better decisions.
And what about Solo? Because I feel like he's still got another level that we haven't seen yet.
He started to shoot that three ball well. Yeah. Now, we don't want him to shoot a lot, but I think that for me, he needs to harness that energy, but he needs to control it. I think he still was at a point to where sometimes he would kind of lose focus a little bit, foul 50 feet from the basket. Yeah. He just needs to rein his emotion in a little bit without limiting the emotion.
Similar to Henry, that little 10-foot jump shot and then take it off the dribble. We didn't see that a lot from him this year. Sure, he was knocking down those set shots from the corner, but I'd like to see him work in that 10 to 15-foot area also.
How do they go from a team that struggled to score for long stretches to a team that still struggled to score at times, but was putting 80-plus points on teams at the end of the year, Hop?
Well, I think it's a huge difference from going – this offense has two players running the offense that can attack and score to three. Once you put in Manny and he became a third legitimate option, it forces defenses to make decisions on what they're going to guard, what they're going to defend. And many times, whenever Manny would go off, it was because the defenses still put their attention on Boots and Wade, and usually Manny could back down his man one-on-one and made it much easier for him. And so that's the key. And that's what in the portal, they need to find that third guy to replace Boots.
I still like the fact that they were shooting earlier in the shot clock. It may not have been in the initial transition, but that secondary break, and it was opening up a lot of those gaps for those guys to get to. I think when we start working the shot clock, whether because the defense is back there, we're just not as effective because it jams up the middle. And we, again, go back, we don't have that guy. We can just kick it out and have the confidence.
So we're all in agreement. A wish list would be a third option, right? Mm-hmm. Some lethal shooting from the outside, and maybe some kind of post presence
with length. And that's going to be in the portal. That's going to be difficult,
right?
Because you already have two or three guys, and people in the portal. Yes, they're looking at the NIL, but they're also looking at where can I
play?
Where can I step in? So when you look at the A&M roster, there is a spot. Say we have an open spot where Boots was. They're going to have a much better sell to that type of player than they are a big man.
But you don't think like a Wildens Levesque moving on, that doesn't open up a spot theoretically
for another Wildens Levesque? I mean, not
a guy.
Yeah, because here's the other side: is Buzz is also going to look at personality. Is he going to fit in here? Just not talent.
Yeah, and we also have to remember that they redshirted three guys.
Yeah,
I mean they've got guys that are on the roster,
and there's some guys coming in.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your work this year. Appreciate
it.
Thank you. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with some closing thoughts here on TexAgs Radio. Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's, who have been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Nicholas Savage, what's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, we hadn't gotten a chance to talk very much spring football because, well, one, it just started, but two, basketball's been kind of the focus here. But, you're going to get a chance to make it out to a practice here soon. I'll probably make my way out there to get some sights and sounds. I'm interested to know, what are you going to be watching for specifically? What players are you going to, keep an eye on from afar? What are you looking for?
Well, I want to do a deeper dive where we spend a full segment on this topic, but I'm thinking transfers, right? And I got to refresh my memory on who's actually already completely enrolled. But I have a lot of interest in Des Ricks. Nick Scordon, obviously, he's done some interviews here at TexAgs. Super excited to see what he does out there. But honestly, what the most important thing that I want to see is what's different. Like, how are the practices held? What's the communication like? What does Colin Klein do to communicate with the quarterbacks? We're so used to Jimbo and his yelling and, the chaos there and what the offensive line was going to look like. Adazio and the yelling there. Like, I'm just curious, what's the vibe like? I mean, there's going to be yelling. It's football. That's what they do. But how are the practices structured? How are the drills structured? And how are the zones, if you will? How do they look? To me, that's what I want. My first takeaway, what is different about this regime, other than what we've heard in sound bites and what we expect to see. Now we get to see. And, there's obviously the players out there. Will Lee, what was one of the biggest issues? When I talk about issues, I always talk about the offensive line and the cornerbacks. So, Will Lee, are you what we thought you are? Des Ricks. There's a lot of guys, right? So that's what I would keep my eye on. You have one that you'd like to see out there, Nick?
Yeah, probably the defensive line with a few new pieces added in. Like, how stacked is it going to be? And obviously the quarterbacks with working with Colin Klein, you'd imagine it'd be pretty interesting to watch them and watch him install the offense. That's a long process. So, that's what I'd be watching for.
Scooby Williams, the linebacker, he's another one I want to watch. I've heard good stuff about him. All right, that's going to do it here for TexAgs Radio on a Tuesday. Tomorrow on the program, I know we got John Harris. We might have ourselves a big guest at 9:35. Still working on that. And, of course, Recruiting Country with Bronny. That and more. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you mañana.